Okay, good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock, and I'm officially welcoming everybody to the October 20th, 2025 special town meeting. I've got return of service by the town clerk. I want you to note the emergency exits. There may not be the entrance through which you came to get into the building, but it may be the way you want to get out. So make sure you know where they're at. How is the sound system? Everybody been able to hear me? Seems pretty loud, actually, right here, but we're going to have non-resident guests sitting, I believe, on that, in part of that left side over there. I'm going to give you a list of those people shortly. There's a note from the head of the drama department that reminds everyone that only water is allowed in the auditorium. No food or coffee are permitted. So at the front of the room, I'm Jim Fitzgerald. I'm your moderator. To my left is Grayson Pelletier. He's my deputy moderator. We have town council and the town administrator coming up the stairs right now. The select board will be at the end. Town clerk, town accountant, and the town administrator, and in front of me is the advisory board. So those are your elected and appointed officials. At this point in time, I'm going to call on, and bear with me here for just a second so I can get my paperwork all in order. Raymond Gajewski was, as our veteran, going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Raymond Gajewski was born in Warren, Massachusetts in 1943. While attending UMass Amherst, he was drafted. Ray served in the United States Army for 24 years in Germany, Belgium, Vietnam, and stateside here in the United States. He was a platoon leader and an intel officer in Germany, building and grounds officer in Belgium, intel officer and company commander and assistant operations officer in Vietnam, and company commander and logistics officer in the reserves. Ray retired as a major after 24 years of service. He's married to Elaine, and they have one son, Mark, and a granddog named Maisie. And thank you very much for your service, Ray, and thank you for leading us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Remain standing, actually. We're going to have some of our martial air singers to lead us in the national anthem. We have Jenna Drunzik, Maddie Babson, Jason Bernard, and Nate Beauchamps are going to sing for us this evening.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 1
Thank you very much.
These are the new articles, new votes from this. I can hang on to this for now.
That's okay. Jack, this is good. Hey, Steve. Okay, show of hands. How many are new to town meeting? Welcome. Hope you enjoy the show. This really is democracy in its purest form, and we welcome you here as we do everybody else. Please shut off your cell phones at this time. The last thing we want to do is hear some strange music happening in the middle of somebody's presentation. All discussion happens from a microphone in the back of the room and through me to the presenters, or if you're asking a question of a town official, it all goes through me. We don't have you talk directly to any of the town officials. Voting is by a show of hands, after which I will declare the vote. The decision can be questioned, my decision can be questioned, if 7 voters rise. If you think I didn't get it right, 7 voters can rise and we can go to a standing vote, and you'll be counted in your section. There's a section leader, and I will go through them in a minute, and they will count your vote, and then there'll be a standing or a counted vote. I will say, I'm pretty proud of the fact I'm not usually wrong, and if I think it's going to be close, I'll go to the standing vote anyways. There's a list of non-registered voters. My paperwork is a little disheveled today. So some are town officials, some are visitors that are not town officials. We have Mike Steele from Conservation, Sean Patterson from DPW, Mike DeMeo is the Harbor Master, Jay McGillis is IT, Robert Matthews Forte is IT, Meg LeMay is the accountant, Sean Strobel is the treasurer, Michael McDonough for the police department, Peter Moran is our interim town administrator, Ashley Kenny is the select board administrator, Elaine Fiore is assessors, Cindy Marcoux is library, and these ones will maybe a little bit not quite correct because they're handwritten. Emily Serbo is with Ty and Bond. They're working with the DPW. Karen Paulette, J. Stephen Bjorklund, Joe Paderno, Kina, I can't even get this one straight, Phil Johnson, Matthew Kinlan, Shayla Tran, Nick Puleo, and Eleanor Bezos, I believe, are all on the list for non-residents that are going to be in the meeting. All those in favor of allowing them to remain in the meeting, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, all those people are allowed to remain. This is the list of tellers. The tellers are the ones that will be counting you in this chance of a standing vote. I'm going to call out the section, and I'm going to call out the teller's name. If you can please rise and show people where you are and what section you're counting. Section A, Barbara Carney. Section B, Jeb Deloche. Section C, Anne Marie Sacchetti. Section D, Kevin Robinson. Section E, Andy Wenig. And Section F, Terry Wenig. And Nerese Casper is counting the front rows up here. The rules, moderator's rules in the front of your warrant. I'm not going to read them individually. I will note that you should highlight rules 7, 9, 11, and 14. We have a rule for moving the question. If somebody feels that at some point during a discussion, they think enough discussion has taken place, they can move the question. If I accept your motion to move the question, then I will close off debate and go to a vote. I don't have to accept that motion. If I think there's more discussion to be had, we can continue it. But if somebody wants to move the question, they can do so. I'd like to have a vote to accept the rules. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that that passes. So there was somewhat of a concern last year, if we all remember. We had a town meeting where there was a line out the door that went all the way down to the end of the football field at 7 p.m., and we weren't prepped for doing any overflow. So being that we have a couple of articles here that could engender a more vigorous debate than typical, we did set up the cafeteria as an overflow room with Don Gibson volunteering to come out of retirement to back me up as moderator down there, but it doesn't appear that we will need to do that. Andrew Stewart and I spoke about his usual floodplain announcement. Since FEMA is on forced holiday at this point in time, there was no point in bringing that forward, so we're going to pass on that. I have several linked articles. Articles 13, 14, and 15 are linked. Those are the MBTA articles. Once we pick up one of those, we'll pick up the rest. The same for 16, 17, and 18. They are also linked, but my understanding is that the planning board will be passing those by. Not sure. Yes, I'm getting the nod from Mr. Guimond. So 16, 17, and 18 are not going to be discussed this evening. I've had several requests, and this is a fairly unusual situation for me, is I've had several requests to advance a couple of articles, and I think there are pretty good reasons to do so. So I am asking the indulgence of town meeting to allow these articles to advance. The first one is Article 4, which is a personnel bylaw classification article. This was a request made by Karen Paulette, the veterans agent. They have a training tomorrow out in the western part of the state, and if the article did not come up tonight, they wouldn't be able to be here tomorrow, and they have one of their people on that article. So they want to advance that forward, and I think that that makes good sense. Article 29 is a DPW stormwater management article. There are some paid professionals that they have hired in as consultants that we're paying by the hour. So again, it doesn't make sense to keep that going into a second evening. So I allowed that to move forward. And the last one is the Article 13, the MBTA article. I think that's really why everybody's here, or for the most. That article forward, so that would be the third one we bring forward. Anybody have any issues with any of those articles? Okay, we're going to let that go. So at this point in time, we're going to put Article 4 on the floor. Now, I'm going to read motions that may not completely match what's in the warrant. The motions are the actual legal language to go with the articles that are in the warrant. So if anybody sees that it's, or hears that it's slightly different, it's only because this is the actual legal, the legal motion. The Select Board moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code Division 2 Personnel Chapter 188-11 by amending the existing Schedule A full-time quote-unquote exempt and Schedule B part-time and seasonal positions by making the changes in yellow highlights as printed under Article 4 of the October 20, 2025 special town meeting warrant. And this was brought forward by Karen Paulette, our veterans agent. Thank you for all the work you do for our veterans, Karen. That's... And she mentioned to me this evening, just before the meeting, that she wanted to make an amendment to this article.
Can you hear me? Not on.
It's on.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. For those who don't know me, I'm Karen Paulette, the Town of Marshfield Veterans Agent, and I would like to make a motion to amend Article 4 to increase the Veteran Agent Assistant position class from the 11 to a 12.
Okay. So we have an amendment on the floor. It's a legal amendment. So I'm going to go to discussion on the amendment. We'll finish the discussion, we'll vote on the amendment, and then we will go to a vote on the article as written. Ms. Paulette.
So this position was requested to be a 12, and the Select Board Chair had advised me to bring it to town meeting for the amendment. The funding for this request can be fully covered under our overall operating budget by transferring the money from our account to our salary line, adding no extra cost to the town. And as always, we will stay under budget.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? So we'll go to a vote. This will be a majority vote. All those in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that the amendment passes by majority. So we now have an amended article. Any discussion on the article? Seeing none, I'll go to a vote. Oh, thank you very much. This is why town council's here. You can remind me when I don't do what I should be doing. Can we have an opinion from the advisory board?
Vin Falacara, 655 Holly Road for the advisory board. The advisory board met on the article as written. We didn't meet on it and discuss it as amended, so we have no recommendation to offer.
Okay. So we're going to go to a vote. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 4, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 4 passes with a majority. Okay, next we're going to Article 29.
My name is Matt
Okay,
Kit- oh,
no,
sorry.
just give me a second to go present it. Article 29, the Board of Public Works moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code Division 2 General Bylaws, Chapter 246, Stormwater Management, by adding a new proposed Chapter 246, Stormwater Management, as set forth in Article 29 of the October 20th, 2025 Special Town Meeting warrant, and further that the town clerk be authorized to make clerical and editorial and other adjustments to effectuate the purposes hereof. And this is presented by the Board of Public Works. So your presentation.
My name is Matt Kinlan with the Marshfield DPW Engineering Department. We're proposing some updates to the existing stormwater management bylaws to meet the current EPA regulations and standards. We worked with Ty and Bond, who has worked with several surrounding towns on the same bylaw update, and I'd like to turn it over to Emily Serba with Ty and Bond to explain in more detail the proposed changes.
Emily?
Very short, I think. All right, see if you can hear me. I think we got it. All right, you can hear me. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. As part of Marshfield's stormwater management program, one best practice is to adopt a bylaw that does two things. First is to prohibit pollution from entering the storm drain. So your existing bylaw that was passed in 2007 did that. However, there's a second best practice, and that is to create a permitting process to oversee new development and redevelopment that catches projects that are ordinarily slipping through Conservation Commission or planning permitting. So that's what you see before you in this bylaw, particularly the third article. We set the permit threshold at 1 acre of land disturbance as not to overly burden residents or the planning board. Your neighbors have very similar bylaws and ordinances already. And this bylaw follows the state's model for such a bylaw, and it refers to federal and state standards. We did not go to a different higher standard.
Okay. Advisory Board opinion.
Good. Don McAleer, 30 Winslow Cemetery Road. The advisory board recommends approval of this article. The old bylaw was out of compliance with EPA regulations, and the DPW rewrote it to bring it into compliance.
Okay. Discussion from the floor. Seeing none, I'll go to a vote. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 29, please raise your hand. All those opposed. I declare that Article 29 passes. So Article 13 is on the floor. Pardon? Right, I already did that. So Article 13 is linked to 14 and 15. That's what I'm going to do. The planning board moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code, Chapter 3 zoning bylaw by adding a new proposed Article 16, MBTA Communities Multifamily Overlay District, amending the town's current zoning map and the table of uses as set forth in Article 13 to 15 of the October 20th, 2025 special town meeting warrant under a reservation of rights by the town to receive a final determination in its pending litigation with the Commonwealth and EOHLC, and further, the town clerk be authorized to make clerical, editorial, and other adjustments to effectuate the purposes hereof. It's being presented by the planning board. I do have one note. This was a note from town council, and he asked this to be read. This memo is intended to be included in the record of the special town meeting. It is my opinion as town council the town meeting may consider approval of Articles 13, 14, and 15, the MBTA community law, without waiving the town's rights to complete its pending litigation challenge to the legality of the law as impacting town meeting voters' rights and also pertaining to its claim that the law is an unfunded mandate. The motion now made now reflects our intention, if passed, to reserve those rights. So that's a statement from town council. Mr. Guimond from the planning board for a presentation.
Actually, Mr. Darcy is going to start.
Can we get the planning board recommendation first?
Katie O'Donnell, Vice Chair of the Planning Board. The Planning Board voted in favor of presenting this article 5-0.
Okay. Mr. Darcy is up there with Mr. Guimond, and whoever would like to make the presentation or start the presentation, please do so. You have 5 minutes for the presentation, just to remind you.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Steve Darcy, Temple Road. Just want to be clear, I'm speaking solely for myself as an individual member of the Select Board. I'm not speaking for any other members. So first, just to give a quick roadmap, first we'll cover new information since town meeting last voted. Thank you. The status of our current legal case, what the funding impact and implications are for the town, and then some background information on the MBTA Communities Act itself, and then the methodology that the planning board used for the district they proposed. Now, we only have 5 minutes, so I'm happy to circle back to any slides during Q&A. But very quickly, one big element is that the Milton case was decided since town meeting last voted on January 8th, 2025. Essentially, the Supreme Judicial Court for Massachusetts ruled that the MBTA Communities Act is both constitutional and that the Attorney General has enforcement authority for communities that are in non-compliance. Give you a quick background. 10 other communities, including Marshfield, 10 in total, including Marshfield, challenged the law, specifically in Plymouth Superior Court, and we argued that this was both an unfunded mandate, and we also argued that this disenfranchises voters at town meeting because you cannot compel them to vote yes. And essentially, Plymouth Superior Court rejected the claim, and right now we're appealing this to the State Court of Appeals, and we also filed to take this directly to the Supreme Judicial Court, and that's currently pending. So that's where we're standing right now. It's Marshfield, Middleton, and Weston are the 3 remaining towns that have filed the notice of appeal. Weston just met on October 15th, and they passed a compliant zone. So that's where the case stands, and happy to circle back to that later. The financial impact, it's not just a zoning article, there are financial implications for the town as well, because there's a list of grants and some discretionary state funding that we would no longer be eligible for. So you can see in this particular slide, this is money that we've lost already, amounting to just a little below $677,000. Next slide is funding that we've historically applied for and which we've won that we are currently no longer eligible for. And then the next slide are projects that have been sent to CPC for funding because they are in fact no longer eligible for state funding. Thank you.
Greg Guimond, Ice House Lane. I am the town planner. Why is this back on the warrant? The town will lose the ability to have a say on the location, density, height, maintaining our 10% affordable housing requirement, and keeping our stricter nitrogen loading standard of 5 parts per million. Next slide. The state is calling for Marshfield to create MBTA community zoning bylaw that allows for the creation of 1,158 units by right with a minimum gross density of 15 units per acre. Next slide. The MBTA communities do not require multifamily housing to be built. It does not require the communities to design or pay for new infrastructure to accommodate the multifamily housing. And it does not eliminate the B2 business district. The MBTA zoning is an overlay district. Next slide. We undertook detailed mapping as part of the state requirements. Next slide. State mapping was very prescriptive. It had excluded lands, sensitive lands, but it does allow a community to include land already developed. Next slide. Planning staff used the following principles when trying to identify the possible locations. As you see on the screen, bottom line, the most important was to minimize the impacts to our town. Next slide. This is the proposed district. Next slide. We meet the state's location requirements. As you can see, it's along a transit route. It's walking distance to stores, restaurants, and services, and it's along a commercial district. We looked at other, next slide. We looked at other areas in North Marshfield, in the RB district along 139, downtown Mariners Hill area, and the industrial area. These areas were determined by the planning staff to have more detrimental effects on the town than the proposed area. Next slide. We've previously submitted the zoning proposal to the state and it was accepted, and you can see the parameters that I've mentioned before: height, density, lot area, water protection, affordable housing. Next slide. The overlay district is outlined in red. You can see that there's no vacant parcels in the proposed overlay area. The highlighted area in the upper middle is conservation restricted and it cannot be developed. Next slide. This is the hypothetical assessment. The MBTA district, or the 650 units at 16 units per acre, is in green, those two columns. To the right of that, on the yellow, is the 75 acres of undeveloped land, and you can see the differences. Bottom line for the possible cost of the town: $2.8 million for the MBTA district in its worst case scenario, and $6.1 million for the undeveloped land.
Okay, Greg, you're out of time. You're at the limit.
Okay.
Okay. Advisory Board.
Vin Falacara, Holly Road for the Advisory Board. The Advisory Board spent a lot of time on this article. We talked to the Planning Board, we talked to the Town Administrator, we talked to a number of people. The advisory board, in a non-unanimous decision, voted in favor of recommending this article to the town residents.
Okay. So we're going to go to discussion from the floor at the end. This will be a majority vote. And Mr. Lynch was kind enough to come up at the beginning and say he was going to take 2 minutes and 15 seconds to make his presentation, and I'm not completely heartless, so he can get his 2 minutes and 15 seconds for his address.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. We are here to vote this article for the third time because your planning board believes that your vote and their vote is more important than yours. The planning board is slapping you in the face by bringing this back again, hoping that eventually they will get the right makeup of voters to get their way. Our state representative, a Democrat, and our state senator, a Republican, signed the MBTA community bill, and the governor signed it into law. The real issue we are voting on tonight transcends grant money. It's about the foundation of our democratic system. What does it mean to be an American? The great American experiment originated all around us, from Plymouth to Marshfield to Boston. Every essence of you and I is about this American experience. My belief, and I am sure yours also, is embedded in the right to free elections. No kings, no queens. No coercion by government telling you under an umbrella of threats how to vote. Vote no, or we will punish you. Vote yes, and we will give you some of your money back. That is what your government is threatening. This gathering of neighbors here tonight is the most basic and purest form of democracy. Its historical roots are based right here in towns like Marshfield. We are obligated to vote in such a way to continue this tradition of democracy. Send a message to the Queen and her court up on the city on the hill that Marshfield will not be strong-armed by radicals in government, be it extremists of the right or in this case the left. We can stand together to end this overreach of government, a clear act of tyranny. You will be able to go home and proudly tell your children and grandchildren you helped to preserve one of the most basic principles of our country tonight: elections free of threats by your government. Thank you.
Okay. I know people want to clap when stuff gets said. Please refrain. It just delays the meeting when we do that. Woman at the left microphone.
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. The real-world present-day threat is the development and the potential cost, the cost of that development. I have a question for the DPW engineer.
Okay, what's your question?
Please stop the clock so he can come up.
Will you tell me your question?
Oh, he's behind me, sorry. Okay, so can you explain the water resource protection restrictions on this zone which make it difficult or impossible to redevelop, and where that information came from?
Is the water resource zone a DPW function? Mr. Ryan? Is it you back there? Or
Yes.
can you answer that?
Yes.
Okay, please do.
Yes. So this is a Zone 2, which is protecting our public water supply. Normally, when you have wastewater, you would use a conventional Title V system, but those systems are not designed for flows greater than 10,000, so you'd have to step it up to a different system. They have alternative denitrifying systems that you can use, but again, those are typically not used over 10,000 gallons without further DEP approval. So the option really for wastewater treatment for a project that would go in Zone 2 like this would end up having to do an on-site treatment system with a groundwater discharge permit, which is a very complicated process to go through.
Okay, thank you.
So it's my understanding from the ZBA chair that that treatment facility would probably not be possible here, would be a very long and expensive undertaking for the very limited amount of bedrooms that could actually be put in this zone. And so I have a question for the building commissioner.
Okay, what's your question?
If we get a no vote on this, can you please explain the process a developer would go through to get permitted to build up to the state's limit on both developed and not developed land anywhere else in Marshfield? With
Okay.
examples if you can.
Mrs. Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Andrew Stewart, Building Commissioner. There are a number of parcels in this town that have historically, a lot of developers will come and they'll ask, is this developable? Oh, there were 4 houses on this lot in the 60s or whatever, and try to get it to be used again. There are a lot of wide open spaces that we have that may not conform to our zoning requirements for frontage or other conforming things. It would change that for a lot of these parcels. So if somebody came to us and decided to start some sort of development process or ask if they could permit something, I would deny that permit. They would then appeal that to the state. It would then it would go right into the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities and the state, and they would supersede us, and they would determine whether or not they could put some sort of multifamily housing development on one of these parcels. Greg has been hesitant to give out the specific parcels, and I am too, but I'm sure if you think about some of these neighborhoods that we have, residential neighborhoods up in the hills, residential neighborhoods down by the ocean, you can envision some of these hidden sites or right out in your face sites that could be developed as multifamily housing without our say. And I would say that some of those housing, if they were done on areas further into the interior of our town, which is further towards the coast, then right at a main thoroughfare that's close to the highway that has all the conveniences really necessary right there, that the impacts to our town, traffic and everything else, are going to be far greater, and they're going to be forced on us in that regard. So I agree with everything fundamentally that Steve is saying, but from a town perspective, from somebody who is paid to look out for your interests, one of the ways that we are looking out for your interests as residents is to comply. It's not that we're trying to force it. We're trying to figure out a way that we can legally comply with the regulations that are being imposed upon us, and to do that in a way that makes the least impact and makes it the least appealing area to be developed in the town. The most difficult area to be developed. And I think if you were to ask some of these developers and ask some of the landowners, that they wouldn't really be into it. They really have no motivation to sell these properties or redevelop them, and they really wouldn't be getting any more impact of any more units out of the already existing multifamily housing that's in this district. So those are those impacts. Thanks.
Thank you.
A follow-up question.
Yep.
How many acres on non-developed land is on the other side of Plain Street, basically across from this zone?
Greg, do you know that?
I believe it's about 70, 75 acres.
70, 75 acres. And if a developer pulled a permit once we're non-compliant with a no vote, which would be tomorrow, Attorney Galvin or the building commissioner could answer that question for me, please. What would happen?
Mr. Stewart.
I would deny the permit, just because it's non-compliant with our local zoning, and that's when they would appeal it to the state through the legal process.
Okay.
Can Attorney Galvin follow up on that? What would happen next?
Is this switch on?
Robert Galvin, Town Council. It's my opinion that a developer would apply for a building permit. You've heard Mr. Stewart say that he would deny the permit. I believe that person would appeal the denial also to the Zoning Board of Appeals. My hope would be the Zoning Board of Appeals would deny it, and then there'd be a lawsuit filed in one of 3 places, the Superior Court, the Land Court, or the Housing Court. And there is a theory of law that's yet untested, pursuant to which there's a possibility that the town would have no ability to say no. It's happened in other areas, particularly with solar power. Town of Waltham did not have an effective bylaw, and solar was allowed everywhere. So it is a possibility. It hasn't been tested here, but that is a distinct possibility.
I've shown in PDFs on Facebook that this zone is not financially viable for redevelopment. And the chair of the ZBA, who couldn't be here tonight, explained with the water resource protection that it is not possible to put the sewer up there because it's a $9 million project minimum, and it's not possible to put a treatment facility because the zone is already saturated.
Ooh.
I could take the 15 seconds you gave Steve.
No, we're done.
Well,
He asked in advance. Do you have a final question that you can say in a couple of seconds?
it's really about the cost to our quality of life right now. We are going to fight the
Okay.
state. Everybody agrees.
Okay, we're done. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Right microphone. Again, please, no applause.
John Kramer, 2204 Road. All of the cities and towns said no to new housing units countless number of times, especially the people of Marshfield. We have said no countless number of times, and no means no. State and local governments have turned their backs on us when we have kept addressing our concerns and issues. We are all getting fed up with state and local governments doing things behind our back. The MBTA should be focused on public transportation instead of housing. Governor Maura Healey thinks this whole thing is nothing but a game. We are not playing games here. Enough is enough. Governor Maura Healey doesn't have the guts to confront the people of our cities and towns to listen to us when it comes to our cities and towns' issues before doing anything to our cities and towns. People like me are getting fed up with Governor Maura Healey playing games with us when it comes to housing. All the cities and towns have made it clear to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts that all of the cities and towns that are on the MBTA's community list are running out of room to build all kinds of new real estate development. There are other cities and towns, such as Fall River, New Bedford, Worcester, and Springfield, have plenty of room for all kinds of housing units. Governor Healey should stop running our state like she's a queen, and she should stop acting like a bully. She's our state's bully. Thank you.
Okay. Again, please, Ms. Anderson. That's you.
Me?
Yes.
Martine Anderson, number 5 Weathervane Lane. The zone that has been chosen by the planning board and the town planner, I heard tonight, isn't even very attractive for development. It's a pretty dense area. We don't have to build anything there. There is, as long as the zone is created. There's lots and lots of land in Marshfield that is open for development that isn't within this zone. If I were a contractor getting ready to build something, I'm not so sure I would put it in this particular zone. We have said that we don't agree with the state, and John doesn't like our, thank you, John doesn't like our governor, but the problem is, arguing with the state is a zero-sum game. I believe that we should support the state, pass the damn law, and go on with our lives. We don't have to build anything there. No developer has to build anything there. We just have to create the zone. And the planner and his minions have done a great job and have chosen a spot that has been accepted. I urge town meeting. I know there's a lot of you here that come all geared up, but relax your shoulders. We will not die if we pass what the state has asked us, please, to do. Please vote yes. Thank you.
Okay. Again, please, with the applause. Women on the left.
Jackie Mason, 1415 Ocean Street. I don't want to be accused of being fresh, so please refrain from responding until my time is up.
Could you speak a little closer to the mic? I can't really hear you.
Let's be honest, we all know this law can change from zone to build with a simple stroke of a pen. Many have claimed this plan is unbuildable. The state is approving our yes, a yes that includes a certain number of units. Once we say yes, they can hold us to it. And then we're the ones who look like we defied the state law regardless. Many of you are up here, they're selling this as unbuildable every time at every meeting. The state has all the proof, and the residents have none of the costs. Now let's talk about the facts under oath. Our planner himself stated, quote, "The town of Marshfield will need to adopt a zoning district where the construction of at least 1,276 new housing units must be allowed by right." Keyword, new construction. So when the state circles back and says, you admitted this allows new builds, what exactly is our defense going to be? And what towns have been approved for this unbuildable zoning idea? We keep hearing that voting no would be a catastrophe after catastrophe, but take a look at the numbers. Go back 10 years. Every grant we've received combined doesn't equal what this would cost our town annually if it ever was built out. That's not fear-mongering, that's math. Attorney Galvin said during our meeting he will not be promoted to judge fighting this. Fair enough. That's the future he's worked for. So understand that many fighting this, it is the future they have worked for and the homes they hope to someday pass on. Reality is potential costs for a build like this will price many out. And the financial future of Marshfield is already dark. So my advice, vote no, protect all of your neighbors, and the place we all love to call home. Thank you.
Ms. O'Donnell.
Katie O'Donnell, 90 Summer Street, Vice Chair of the Planning Board, but speaking individually. I would like to say that as a member of the Planning Board, this issue has not been brought up repeatedly as a show of disrespect to town meeting voters. We have also hoped that things would change at the state level. That's why we've brought this back time after time with more information in order to make sure that Marshfield residents are informed about all of the state regulations and guidelines, what's being asked, and the consequences otherwise. We want to make sure that Marshfield residents are as informed as possible. And I don't think that this is a topic that any of us really want. This wouldn't be on my wish list of articles. However, the state has put it in our court, and we need to respond. And sometimes caring for something you love means doing some things that you don't want to do. I love Marshfield, so here I am. I'm voting in favor of this article for two primary reasons. First, I feel that the proposed location presents so many challenges that it makes significant development under this bylaw highly unlikely. Second, I'm voting in favor of this article because I want to see zoning remain under local control. A no vote would mean possible high-density development anywhere in town, and I don't want that for any of us. I want to know that I can read my local rules and regulations and have a reasonable expectation of what could happen to the privately owned lots in my neighborhood and yours. I want to know that I live in a community where zoning bylaws have been thoughtfully written and adopted by citizens looking out for the best interests of Marshfield, not by some outsider group of clout-seeking politicians. As a planning board member, I also want to know that when an applicant presents a project proposal, my board will be able to hold them accountable to all local rules and regulations. And they won't be able to threaten us with, well, if you don't approve this, we'll just go to the state, seeing as you aren't in compliance anyway. For me, the choice is clear. A yes vote means far more control than a no vote. I don't see my vote as being in favor of high-density housing.
Okay, you're out of time. No, it's fine. Please go.
Bernie Dupuy, 6 Weathervane Lane. I've spoken before at least twice about development in the town of Marshfield. A group of people, citizens where I live, that formed the Concerned Community Citizens. We fought against 2 developments that ultimately went through up on the Mill Creek area. We're currently looking at one development of 240 units, another at 270. Enough is enough. I'm not happy about this, any of it. I've spoken against the zoning board for both times it came up the last time. I've heard about all of the different proposals. I went to the meetings that Greg had with other state representatives and town representatives, and I think what we're faced here is a lesser of two evils, neither one of them being a great choice. I think what's happened with regard to this, we're looking at what's already happened. We're looking at a development, huge development in terms of our school population, the ultimate responsibility for police and fire department, a huge tax levy as a result of those two developments, and last certainly but not least, the traffic along Route 139 that anyone who travels that road can realize what it has done. I am saying, I may come across as a traitor for those of you who have voted no in the past. I am now supporting this proposal for the simple reason I think it's a lesser of two evils. It at least gives the town some control over what's going to happen. I think if we vote no for it, it's like going into a casino. What are your odds of coming out of there with any type of win? Pretty damn slim. It's not often that I get to speak and be in agreement with Martine Anderson, but today I am, and I urge you to vote yes. Thank you.
Okay, please. Mr. Gibson.
Don Gibson, 815 Union Street. One of the fundamental principles of our democracy, especially at a local level, is that we obey the law. And if we are unhappy with the status of the law, or if we're unhappy with a decision, a ruling by a judge, we appeal to the appellate court. We can't lose sight of the fact that on January 8, 2025, the Supreme Judicial Court of Massachusetts, the highest state court, has held that this act is constitutional and that it can be enforced by the Attorney General. This act also brings with it severe sanctions that the Attorney General and the state can impose upon us. And your slides went by very, very quickly, but I know that we've already lost a grant or grants that we have been previously awarded. I know that we have lost grants for which we were otherwise eligible and had applied, and I know that we've been denied other grant funds as a result of our non-compliance. So I would ask that the presenters of this article take some time to go over those two slides that you zipped through and show us which grants we've lost, which grants weren't awarded even though we were qualified, and which discretionary grants were going to be foreclosed, and what's going to be done to replace the money our non-compliance has created. Thank you very much.
Okay. Did you want those, could you put those slides with the grants that have been withheld up?
Yes.
Just.
Can you go back to the first slide and I'll get us there. Okay, so these are grants and funding that we had that were taken away by the state, so thank you for the question and time to clarify in more detail. So first, the state took away snow clearing and maintenance equipment and a new electronic security gate from the airport valued at $500,000. And then we had a joint grant with Situate as part of an early stage in the North-South River dredging project. So tonight, we're asking the town meeting voters to fund that in Article 5 for $130,800. And then the schools were advised that they were not eligible for Coordinated Family and Community Engagement Grant, and that would cover staff and supplies for preschool education. So that totals about $676,500. And then, there are millions of dollars in Seaport Economic Council grants available for climate resiliency that will not be considered. So that's kind of captured in this slide of historical funding that the town has won over the years in the total. So in 2011, we had a Seaport Economic Council grant for a North Commercial Pier bulkhead. That was $500,000. We also had a 2015 Seaport Economic Council grant for the Harbor Master Building, the Maritime Center, for $1 million. 2018, a Seaport Economic Council grant for the Green Harbor Pier project at $95,000. And then we had the 2018 State Dredge Grant Program for the Marshfield and Situate North-South River dredging. That was $550,500. And then 2024, we had a Green Harbor Public Boat Ramp project and that was from discretionary state funding for $650,000. So totaling just about $2.8 million. And again, these are things that we apply for every single year. We don't win every year, but we have a pretty good track record with the Seaport Economic Council grants. And then the final slide, these are projects specifically that because we're no longer eligible for state funding, were sent to the Community Preservation Committee for funding instead. So a project that's already been funded and completed, that's the Damon's Point Dock project for $60,900. The Ridge Road Boat Ramp project, that was funded and bids just opened last Wednesday on the 15th. That was $669,700. So right there, that's about $730,000. And then submitted for consideration to the Community Preservation Committee for our upcoming annual town meeting in the spring of 2026. We have Harbor Walk Phase 3 for $288,000. And then we also have Damon's Point Phase 2, which is $490,000. So if you take these slides between what's already been sent to CPC and funded and requests coming down the pike in the future, together that's about a combined $1.5 million.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gentleman at the right microphone.
Malcolm Gale, Nantasket Street. I have a clarification on the way that the state law has been written that I don't quite understand. I believe that in the article that they passed, you had to be so close to public transportation and you had to have public transportation in your own town to get there. And if that is the case, we should not be precluded from getting any of those funds that you said we will not get. I am neither for nor against this, by the way.
Okay, can anybody address that? Right.
The law is a half mile from a commuter rail station, but it has a clause that allows the state in its regulations, and in the regulations, they made us an adjacent community because we're next to Greenbush. About the transit line, we have a Gatra bus, so when we were looking at where to site in town, we followed the Gatra route as where things that we were looking to site, so we could meet the state requirement for transit.
Okay, thank you.
Then, one more.
Yep.
Then it sounds to me like you argued the wrong case in front of the judge.
Okay. Barry.
Barry Cornwell Hill. As I listen to these arguments and read everything that's been said in previous meetings, I get this one recurring thought. Don't tell me what to do. I have to tell you, I said that once to my mother. I was 11 years old. And she was a lovely person, mild-mannered, and she smacked me across the face so hard. I never, ever said that to her or anyone else ever again. But as I think about this issue that's before us, and I am in favor of approving these 3 articles, but I get this one recurring thought, and that is, the solution, Marshfield, is for us to secede from the Commonwealth and not pay any further attention to anything they suggest. Thank you.
Woman at the right microphone.
Catherine Gensheimer, Tupelo Road. My question is for Attorney Galvin. They had obviously the Supreme Court decision, but there was also additional language in their recommendations. Could you report what that was, the additional language that was in their decision?
I don't think I can cite the text verbatim because it's like a 12-page decision, but I can tell you that the Supreme Judicial Court ruled that the MBTA Communities Act was constitutional. It found that the Attorney General could enforce this state law and regulations against cities and towns. It also determined that some guidelines that were promulgated by Housing and Livable Communities were not valid, and it explained that they were invalid because it violated the State Administrative Procedures Act. And as a result of that argument, 6 days later, the Housing and Livable Communities issued emergency regulations in accordance with the State Administrative Procedures Act, and they became permanent regulations in the second week of April 2025. That's the substance of the decision. What they did not decide was whether this act required or resulted in the disenfranchisement of voters under Chapter 40A, Section 5, because I think, as people have said, it's our right to vote yes or no on zoning, with one exception. Chapter 48, Section 3 contains several subjects that zoning may not regulate. And it's my position that this law is not legal.
I didn't ask your position. I just asked for the language.
He's answering your question.
I was trying to answer your question.
Okay.
And the answer is, there is another section of law, Chapter 48, Section 3. This is 3A, 3, are the subjects that zoning cannot regulate.
Have there been any changes in Marshfield with our rent prices? If the Supreme Court made that ruling about the housing, has there been anything change in that? Because I'm still seeing that rents for studio apartments, one-bedroom apartments are, $2,000-3,000 a month.
I have no idea what the rents are in Marshfield because I own my house in Marshfield.
Well, that's fortunate for you. In addition to that, I don't think anybody should trust that when the government says that they're not going to amend things or put different language in, that this isn't going to open the doors for more development just because this lot is deemed unbuildable. So I'm not in favor of this vote. And I also feel that for Mr. Stewart, when he was talking his opinions, trying to answer a question, which I'm not quite sure you even answered, talking about like waterfront and putting it near the waterfront or putting it into private communities and somebody's cul-de-sac was misleading and also leads people to sway a vote. So my opinion is I vote no. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Keith.
Pam Keith, Smoke Hill Ridge. I just wanted to say something along the lines of the end of the last comment, that I don't appreciate people coming to town meeting officials and giving wrong information. And I appreciate Mr. Galvin explaining a better explanation of how a building permit might be acted upon and appealed. And we have the building commissioner stating that an appeal is going straight to the court. Those are things that can lead the voters to decide a certain way. We hear the language that this can be put anywhere. That is not, there's nothing based in fact or law that states that. The town planner has made opposite statements in his meetings about that it won't be placed anywhere. It will be, as he said, as it was shown on the screen, that it's along the corridor, the business corridor, because the state has regulations. The Attorney General saying that it can be enforced, the court did not say how. And other things that have been talked about, the grant for $500,000, I believe that the airport equipment or whatever it was for, I believe that was returned. So we have inaccurate information in front of us. We have promises about things that can never be built. And things are always built. They're built on complete wetlands and swamps and whatever, and they're built. So I say that we stick with a no vote, and we can always vote it again in April. Thank you.
Okay. Left microphone. Mr. Pasevich.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. Yeah, I want to echo that sentiment that we're told we've gotten more information, and we're here to serve the public and give you more information so you can be more informed. But again, a lot of misinformation is misleading. The $500,000 is not an issue. We shouldn't be talking about money that we received in grants like 10, 15 years ago. That has no bearing on this discussion right now. Mr. Galvin's statement that we reserve the right to go ahead with our appeal, that's his opinion, and he doesn't think it'll be affected by how this vote, if we vote yes. But he's not able to tell us what the judge is going to say. And my guess is the judge is going to say, your appeal is now moot because your town has adopted it. So that's a big risk. And here's the thing, you vote yes for this, you are there's no gamble here, like some of my good friends have talked about, we're gambling. No. You vote yes on this, and you immediately will get at least 500-600 people coming to town hall looking for permits to build high-density projects. There are many properties in the district that's been chosen by the planning board that are prime for intense developments. Look at what happened when Lexington got very aggressive and voted a big MBTA district. What happened? They were flooded with developers coming in, so that they even went back to town meeting to restrict the size of their MBTA area. So look at what happened to Lexington, look what's happened to other places where this happens. The developers come rushing in. There are many lots like the Quirk lot. What did Mr. Quirk do when he bought 2 parcels up in Braintree? Funny, 6 weeks later, it was included in an MBTA zone. You know, so those lots along that stretch of Plain Street are prime. You'll see people selling out to make money on apartments, and they'll be moving their businesses elsewhere. And as far as the process goes, I echo again the sentiments of my previous speaker here, my friend previous speaker, that before you can build one of these high-density projects, the zone has to be in place, and it's not in place, and you don't have sellers. So
Thank you.
Vote no.
So we have about 10 people or so standing up at the front. I'm going to go and we're here, these people, and at that point in time, we'll go to a vote. So, Mr. Kai.
Greg Kai, 59 Canal Street, speaking as a private citizen. Polished turd. That's what many people have called the MBTA Communities Act legislation. No, nobody in here is in favor of that legislation. And I think it's upon the planning board to bring it to us because circumstances have changed. Right in the town of Hanson. The town of Hanson, by the Patriot Ledger's account, reversed course and passed rules to put it in compliance with the MBTA Communities Act because of the staggering amount of grants on which it had already lost out. One of the residents said, "This fight is not going to be solved by our budget. It's going to be solved at the ballot box." And he said, what I would suggest people do, and it sucks to say this, is bite the bullet, take the burden off our budget, and put the burden onto the ballot box. Ladies and gentlemen, the town of Winthrop had C grants, they reversed course. I believe the town of Milton has reversed course. These are all people that have been in non-compliance and now are changing. I read that as part of the Attorney General's second advisory issued, it says, as of July 15, 2025, these communities, us, will be non-compliant with the Act and will face the loss of discretionary state grant funding. Chapter 90, which are road and bridge monies, we need those funds. And as somebody who's been a member of the Capital Budget Committee, the Advisory Board, and the Library Grant, past town meetings have not been happy with the fact that we're not keeping up with our maintenance. If we lose these funds, we're not going to be able to keep up with the maintenance, folks. And all the naysayers can say all they want, but the facts are the facts. Past town meetings have borne this out. So I begrudgingly get up to vote yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Eric Murphy, Ocean Street. So here we are again, third time's a charm, I guess. So my wondering if this vote passes yes, do we come back and do 5 out of 3? Do we keep showing up until we get it's like gambling is what we're saying, right? So we've already lost a 2 out of 3. so we must have 2 more times to vote on this. My problem is that, look around this room, all right? You see anybody in this room that's a younger generation, 30-ish? Those people I've spoken to, I brought them to 2 meetings, they've come here to vote, they come back to vote again. Now, they say, what's the point? My vote doesn't count, I'm not coming. All right, that's where it's at. We voted twice. This is not democracy. This is, I'm going to keep asking until I get it right or get what I want. All right, it's dangerous to risk. I get it. It's a challenge. It's scary. We're all nervous. We're going to lose money and everything like that. But what happened to the town of Marshfield of old, where they burnt tea on T-Rock? And now it's called T-Rock. If I had my way, we'd call it MBTA Rock, and we go up there right now and burn the MBTA there, okay? So all I have to say is it's dangerous, it's risky, but we have to take that risk, okay? Thomas Jefferson quoted, as he said, I prefer dangerous freedoms as opposed to peaceful slavery. And this is what they're doing. They're bullying us into something else. Vote no.
Okay. Mr. Wolf.
Michael Wolf, Union Street. I've never liked being told what to do, from little kid to now. And this legislation, when it passed, the goals were great, but the method really sort of rankled a little bit in terms of compulsion to go a certain way. Milton, Marshfield, a handful of other communities stood up, put money on the table, and pushed back. Great. The Supreme Court of the state has come in and said, tough darts. This is the law. It's enforceable. You've got to live with it. So reality today, like it or not, is we can choose to shoot ourselves in the foot, saying we don't like what the state's doing, or we can take a more practical approach. The way I looked at the numbers, that's like up to $5 million, maybe repeatedly, in lost and foregone grants that comes out of the taxes and other resources here. That's bad, but even worse is the potential of completely losing control over zoning for high density throughout the community. Never mind in this one area that I think has been very creatively and strategically planned, but across the town to have explosions of high density, of multifamily housing, and I look in the mirror and say, no, you gotta be crazy. Don't do that. Vote yes.
Okay. Gentleman on the left microphone.
Martin Filari, Dannings Point Road. I listened to a Zoom a couple nights ago, and you talked about a hybrid approach to this, which hasn't been mentioned at this meeting. And I think the hybrid approach will satisfy the people that are leaning yes and the people that are leaning no to vote yes. And I'd like to hear about the hybrid approach here.
I don't know what the hybrid approach is, so.
I think I can Rosetta Stone it. I think he's talking about a dual track approach where we pass the zoning district tonight, we get access back to these grants and discretionary funding, and we can still continue our lawsuit. And if we win our lawsuit, then we'll repeal this easily at the annual town meeting in the spring. And I can pivot to town council because he has reached out to confirm that from a legal perspective, we can pass a compliant zoning district and continue our lawsuit. So I'll let him touch on those details more.
Good evening again. So the town has already filed its appellate brief in the appeals court. We did that last Thursday, and we argued that this law is procedurally defective because it requires town meetings to vote yes. But I also gave an opinion earlier in the week after speaking to a number of my colleagues that also practice municipal law and have been doing it for all of them in excess of 25 years. And we had the collective belief and it is my opinion that we can continue with that lawsuit because we're challenging the constitutionality of this statute. It's also my opinion that we can continue to claim that the statute is an unfunded mandate, but you have to be aware that if it is an unfunded mandate, which the Superior Court has already ruled that it isn't, but we're successful in convincing a panel of appeals court judges, or the SJC, that it is, and that we've incurred direct service and cost obligations as a result of this act, that is not an excuse under state law for not complying with the law, but we are allowed an excuse of not complying until the state provides us funding to comply. So it's my opinion, and I've given this opinion in writing, you all have it, I've vetted it with people that I trust, that are my colleagues, all with experience, and we believe that you can continue to fight this lawsuit. And what happens if we win? If we win, the law is void. It has to be amended. Does anybody think that 162 towns or thereabouts are going to be left in the cold at this particular stage? I just think that they're going to rationalize it in some way, and they're either going to find a way to say that this law is legal, or they'll change it. And the only experience that I can tell you is that 6 days after the Supreme Judicial Court ruled that the guidelines were illegal, the state fixed the law by having its state agency issue regulations. And I think it's a reasonable expectation for all of us that they'll fix this law in the event there's a procedural defect. I've raised it from the very beginning in every conversation I've ever had with the Attorney General's office. I explained to them why it was defective. This is the basis of which we were the first to file suit against the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I watched the SJC argument in the Milton case. The Commonwealth had 15 minutes to make their case that the law was valid. 9 of those 15 minutes were spent by one SJC judge, Judge Wolahojian, basically questioning the Attorney General about the precise issue that we've raised in our lawsuit. It's a valid issue. If the law is invalid, we'll be absolutely fine. The law will be invalid. We won't have to come back to town meeting. If they change the bylaw, or if they change the law, they can do that any time they want. So that's the hybrid approach. If you say no, you've just said to the state, we're going to force you to bring a lawsuit against us, and no one sitting in this room can tell you what the Attorney General is going to do. But we do have precedent for what they've done in the past to communities that have defied the state. And in 1943, not that that's particularly relevant in my view, but there was the town of Hudson decided that in town meeting, they weren't going to fund equipment to chlorinate their water. And the Attorney General brought a lawsuit against the town of Hudson in order to force the issue. And I'm going to read you 2 quotes directly from the Supreme Judicial Court. Now, I know that the judges are not the same judges as they were in 1943, but they happen to be the most experienced, qualified judges that the governor and the governor's council vetted, and they'll be deciding our fate based on precedent. And they said, that argument that the town of Hudson can defy a state law is so full of dangerous errors, and if relied upon, its town and its officers and inhabitants might lead to such serious consequences to them that we are unwilling by silence to permit counsel or his clients to remain under the delusion that a town may thus safely defy the Commonwealth and its courts. A town is not an independent sovereignty. It is merely a subordinate agency of state government. It is a creature of the Commonwealth from which are derived all its powers and those of its voters and officers. It is true, the existence of towns and the action by the inhabitants at town meetings are contemplated by the Constitution, and the form of government of a town has been described as pure democracy, as distinguished from representative government. But the powers of a town and of its town meeting and the very existence of a town are subject to the will of the legislature. Powers exercised by voters in town meeting or by officers chosen by them may be taken away and vested in officers appointed by the governor. Plainly, a town is in no position to defy its creator, the Commonwealth, or to attempt to nullify legislative mandates issued under the authority of the general court. That's the precedent we're fighting.
Thank you. So not in legalese, that might have gone over the heads of a lot of people here. It's my impression that voting yes is a win-win for both the people that want to vote yes and believe that you're going to succeed with this lawsuit, but keeps us in the right to get the grant money that we're gambling that's $2 to $5 million right now.
Yes.
To me, there's no reason not to vote yes for this. Because of this,
Point of order, it's not for the moderator to give a dollar figure when those dollar figures have been disputed. Thank you.
I didn't give any dollar figures. I said,
Yes to the $2 to $5 million.
I was relaying the statement that town council made. He said yes, I said yes for town council.
so if we vote yes, we are in compliance with the state, and this lawsuit will go on, and in January or February, if the lawsuit goes through and we win the lawsuit, we do not have to do the zoning. Is that correct?
Said yes under current law.
Why would you ever vote no and put millions of dollars down the drain? There's no question.
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Fiddler.
Yes, Lynn Fiddler, 77 Brook Road. I'd like to move the questions.
I will accept that motion. I think there's been enough discussion on both sides of the articles at this point. So I'm going to accept the motion to move the question. All those in favor of moving the question, please raise your hand. All those opposed. I declare that the motion carries and we are moving the question. So this is a majority vote. And to be clear, if you're voting yes, you're voting in favor of the zoning that has been established by the planning board. If you're voting against, you are not in favor of this zoning and you want to continue to be not in compliance with the state. Okay, everybody get that? I'm going to go to a standing count because I'd really like to see how many people are here tonight. Well, really, I'm sure it's going to be something like that anyway. So all those in favor of Article 13, please rise.
So once we're counting, we're supposed to. I know. Don't leave. Don't leave. Doesn't matter. They recount. Please.
Hello, please remain inside the building until we get done with the vote. I see some people leaving and you need to wait until we're done. Okay, are we ready now? Okay, please be quiet. Section 1. 65. Section 2. 69. Section 3. She's not ready. Okay, we'll wait for you. '58. Section 4.
73.
73. Section 5.
52.
62. Section 6. Pardon me, was that again?
52.
62. 52. 52. Okay, thank you. That's why I say the number twice. Section 6. 30. Section 7. Pardon me? 16. 16. Okay, all those opposed to Article 13, please rise.
Joe, stand still. I'm trying to count. I think it's close. Okay. Are we ready? Section 1. 12. Section 2. 20. Section 3. 5. Section 4. Not ready.
Not ready? We'll wait.
91. 91. Section 5.
63.
63. Section 6. 18. Section 7. 3. So we have 363 yes, 209 no. The article passes. Do we need to vote on? Yeah, Boston. Obviously, we're going to wait until the exodus finishes before we get on with our meeting so that we can hear what's going on. We are going to be going into the regular lottery at this point in time, so what article's on deck? 23. All right, I think we can... We'll give it a minute. Okay, we're going to start things back up again. Article 23. The planning board moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code Division 3 zoning bylaw, Article 5, use... Yes?
I was led to believe Articles 13, 14, and 15.
They were moved as a set of 13, 14, and 15. So when we voted in favor of Article 13, we endorsed 14 and 15, but thank you, that's a good point of order. I'll start again, because now it's actually quiet. Article 23, the planning board moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code Division 3 zoning bylaw, Article 5, use regulations, sections 305-5.04, table of use regulations as set forth in Article 23 of the October 20, 2025 special town meeting warrant, and further that the town clerk be authorized to make clerical, editorial, and other adjustments to effectuate the purposes hereof. Mr. Guimond.
Do we have the slide for 23? Article 23 modifies the current retail and service number 16 by separating out the motor vehicle repairs from gasoline sales, service station, and sale of convenient goods. It's part of a series of articles that we're bringing to expand the table of use because there are a lot of uses now that we did not have in the past, and we're trying to separate out some of these uses and clarify them.
Okay.
Advisory Board.
Vin Falacara, Holly Road. So we looked at the articles 22, 23, 24, 25, and 26 as a group. And I'll go through a spiel for this one, and I'll save you that for all the rest. The subject articles update various portions of Section 305, 504, Table of Use Regulations. These revisions were based on discussions between the town planner and the town's building commissioner and seek to clarify and make better sense of the table. None of these revisions involve substantive changes to the town's code governance model. The cost of these is just the administrative costs of making the changes, and the advisory board recommends approval of all articles, but we'll count as they go. But we recommend approval of Article 23.
Okay, thank you. Discussion from the floor. This is going to be a 2/3 vote. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of Article 23, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that article passes by 2/3. Okay, next up. Article 5 is next.
Point of order. Point of order.
Yes?
I don't think we all knew what we were voting on with that last vote.
The vote's done. Nobody even spoke about it. We voted and we approved it. So
Because it seems to come out of context.
nobody had a question when they got up to the microphone, so we're fine. We're done. Article 5, I got to get myself in order for this one. The Select Board moves that the town appropriate the sum of $1,205,824.93 for capital outlay as set forth in the spreadsheet published under Article 5 in the October 2025 special town meeting warrant, and to meet said appropriation, transfer the sum of $1,205,824.93 from free cash and/or the compensated absence fund as set forth on the spreadsheet published under Article 5 in the October 2025 special town meeting warrant. So as we typically do with financial articles, I'm going to read the line. I've got to get to the right page. Here we go. I'm going to read each line item, and if anybody has a question, they can just shout out from their seat. If there's a question, we'll go back and revisit those ones that are questioned afterwards. We'll vote on the ones that are not questioned, then we will vote on each of the questioned articles, and then lastly, we will vote for the article in total. So I am going to go down the list. Item 1, police, school resource officers, $284,000 from free cash. Question on 1. 2, police, sick leave buyout for retirees, $51,700 from compensated absence fund. Item 3, fire, PFAS-free turnout gear, $105,000 from free cash.
Question.
Question on the turnout gear. 4, fire, sick leave buyout for retirees, $39,959.09, compensated absence fund. 5, town maintenance, facilities management, $250,000 free cash. Question on town maintenance. School maintenance, facilities management, $304,000 from free cash. Question. 7, harbor master, South Shore River shoaling dredging, $130,800 from free cash. IT, HPE switch replacement, $40,365.84 from free cash.
Question.
Question on that. So those are the articles that we're questioning. We have 2 I think we'll go back and we'll deal with the question items, we're going to vote on the whole thing, because only 2 of them were not questioned. So we'll go to the first item, school resource officers. Question, what is the question?
Basically, Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road, basically 2 questions. School resource officers, those are police, I believe, police officers, members of the police department?
That's why it says police, yes.
Okay, so why are we now appropriating money for, at this point in the fiscal year, for school resource, for extra money for police officers' payments?
Okay.
Wasn't that part of the original police department budget?
Well, let's find out.
What happened?
Chief can answer that question.
Phil Tavares, Police Chief. That money originally to start the program was a grant in the amount of $250,000 from the state, which provided 2 additional school resource officers into our schools. Currently, we have 3. The school department pays 10 months out of the officer that's at the high school. We pay 2 months of his salary, and we're paying the salary for 2 more officers, 1 at the middle school and 1 at that goes around to the 5 different elementary schools. This was supposed to be part of our regular budget going back a few years. It never has been. We've had to come to town meeting every time to ask for it. It was, when we were building the budget this year, it was originally in the budget, but then $284,000 was backed out of our budget for whatever reason, saying that we'd have to come at town meeting tonight and ask for it.
So my understanding is that we normally have 3 school resource officers. And how many will we have if we approve this?
Chief?
We'll keep the 3 that we have. There's not going to be any additional.
And what is I couldn't follow the comment about a $250,000 grant. How does that figure into this?
That's how we started putting the additional officers in the school, and at the time, the Board of Selectmen was very supportive to continue after the grant to keep our children safe.
So I'm just hearing that the $250,000 was to put additional officers into the school, but we have 3 and we're going to just only have 3. So are we getting additional officers or not?
Chief?
I think you're misunderstanding me.
Exactly.
Yeah, when we got the grant, we only had 1 school resource officer.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Thank you.
Okay, you good?
So you got the grant was received for 1 school officer, which is $250,000.
Incorrect. We had 1 school resource officer, and we put 2 additional ones on once we got the grant.
Okay, so from now on, having 3 school resource officers is dependent on having a $250,000 grant?
No, it depends on our funding our budget.
Right. Okay. Right, thank you. Next question is, well, that was the second part of the question was, it says officers. So the $284,000, you get the impression that $284,000 is going to fund officers, multiple
We
officers.
got a point of order, yes.
This is why you need to record a conversation with Mr. Peasant.
Okay, that's enough, that's inappropriate. That's not appropriate.
Could I answer Mr. Pesovich's question?
Absolutely.
Officers means more than 1. There's 2.
So $284,000 covers 2 officers.
And 2 months of another officer.
Plus 2 months. And that is for 12 months of the year, or how many months?
12 months for 2 officers, 2 months for 1 officer.
So we have school resource officers working 12 months of the year?
They work during the school year 10 months, and then they do other stuff at the schools during the summer.
You hag. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Lady at the left microphone.
Well, I was going to... Why do we only have...
Name and address first, please.
Priscilla Maglio, Arlington Street. This really makes me nervous to think that there isn't a school, there isn't a resource officer in each school in the town all the time the children are in the building. when they're coming in, when they're going out, while the kids are there. Why isn't there a resource officer in every building all day long?
Chief?
I guess the question's for the chief of police.
Yep, I'm getting him.
I think that would be a great idea, and that would be the goal. However, it requires funding.
It requires keeping our children safe.
Exactly.
Well, if you don't have a school resource officer in the school, you need to have other police in the school, whether they're labeled school resource officers or not. Because when a child is beat up by a group of children outside of school, and nobody sees it. By the way, are there cameras around the school while the children are coming into the school and going out of the school?
I don't know.
While they're
Can you
getting
answer
on their
that?
buses?
You'd have to ask probably the superintendent of schools, but they do have cameras. And you're speaking to somebody that truly believes in the most important thing is the safety and security of our school faculty and staff. And I'm all for having more officers, but we're understaffed as it is. So
Well, you're leaving yourself out for a big lawsuit in this town if a child is beat up.
Okay,
That's it. If a child is beat up and cannot stay in the school because they can't come because they're afraid to come to school, they're going to ask to go out of district to another place to go to school where it's safer. You
Okay.
pay for the busing, you pay for the school. You're going to pay $200,000 or $300,000 a year for one child.
I think we get your point.
Mr. Moderator, may I
Yes.
just very quickly clarify? Sean Costello, Chair of the School Committee, 229 Winslow Street. I just want to say we work very closely with Chief Tavares and the entire police department year-round to ensure that our students are as safe as possible in today's day and age. We also ensure that we're devoting pieces of our budget, working with the town to ensure we have other pieces of the budget coming forward to make sure that we're keeping our buildings' technology up to date to ensure that our students are safe. So we do that all the time with the chief and his department, and I think it's a good opportunity too to just very quickly highlight our 3 school resource officers are absolutely fantastic, and they're integral parts of our school community, and they do a great job keeping our kids safe.
Each one of those people is only one person. They can only do as much as one person can do. They will tell you when something happens, I'm sorry, I didn't see it, I was doing something else. You have to cover all the bases. You're taking care of all these children in the town.
Ma'am, I will just reiterate, we can't talk about specific safety initiatives in the school for obvious reasons. We can't publicly discuss all the safety initiatives that we have in our buildings, but our buildings are as secure as we can make them, and our students are safe in Marshfield Public Schools. And here's the superintendent to maybe add a little more.
No, I appreciate the passion behind your questions and the need for safety. We all share that. I'd be glad to talk to you individually if you want to call me at the schools about all of our programs.
No, I want the town meeting to hear this.
Yeah, but
You know, you don't understand. You really
Miss
don't understand.
Maglio, you're out of time at this point. You can
Okay.
answer, Mr. Sullivan, you can answer what you were going to say, but you've got no more time to speak.
yeah, I just want to reiterate what Chairman Costello has said and what Chief Tavares has said, that we have strong collaboration with our police and we have programs in our schools. We're always looking to improve them, always emphasizing safety, but I do feel that our school resource officers do an amazing job, and we're very lucky to have them.
Okay, thank you.
So what? It's not
We're
enough.
going to, Ms. Maglio, we're done. If you can sit, please. Number 2, we had no questions on. Number 3, where the fire PFAS-free turnout gear was questioned.
Priscilla Maglio, Arlington Street.
Yes?
Yes, would you please direct this question to the proper person, Mr. Moderator?
Pardon me?
Please direct this question to the proper person.
Okay. What's your question?
The PFAS gear. What is it? How does it protect people?
Chief LaSalva, there you are.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Michael Salva, Fire Chief. So this is what we call turnout gear, is what firefighters, men and women, wear to protect us when we go into a fire. It's basically our lifeline. It protects us from the heat and the smoke and all the awful things that we could ingest. This is directly the most important protective gear that we wear or we will use. The manufacturers of these gear over the years, because of the properties of PFAS chemicals, were really good at deflecting heat and protecting our firefighters, mostly on the inner liner of the ensemble itself. And currently, legislation was passed that after 2027, the manufacturer of turnout gear will not be allowed to use any PFAS chemicals in the manufacture of the turnout gear. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve here. And last year, through free cash, we were able to outfit half the department with PFAS-free gear. If this passes, the entire department will have one set of PFAS-free gear. So basically, the PPE that protects our firefighters, our men and women, won't be causing them any additional harm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Number 4 was not questioned. Number 5, town maintenance from the facilities management for $250.
Hi, Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. It's a very nice round number, $250,000. Why wasn't it included in the budget? And what is it doing in here now, coming out of free cash? Is it earmarked for something specific? Did something happen that all of a sudden the facilities management department needs $250,000?
Who would like to, Mr. Russell?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Fred Russell, Facility Manager. This 250 has been in the free cash for the last few years. FY27, it's going to be put into the operating budget, but we have a baseline. This is more than half of my reoccurring expenses, so it's going to be put into the FY27 operating budget next year.
So you have recurring expense, I'm just hearing that there are recurring expenses of $500,000 on an annual basis. Is that true?
Mr. Russell?
That's true.
And where's the other $250,000? Was that included in the annual budget? I don't remember.
This number represents a little bit more than half of my operating budget. I do have some funding in the FY27. This completes the need for facilities.
So I'm hearing that the facilities management department was only funded, half funded, going into this portion of the fiscal year?
Mr. Russell?
And so now we're getting the other half of the funding?
That's how it's been for the last 3 or 4 years.
Is that what's happening now?
Right.
Apparently so.
Really? Interesting. Thank you.
Left microphone.
Priscilla Maglio, Arlington Street. About the facilities management, I was going to ask you, where is the facility management being provided for these, the town maintenance? That's kind of vague. What are you talking about?
We do a lot of maintenance on, say, for example, like building envelope systems, which is the roof, siding, exterior doors. We do MEP, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, maintenance and repair. We also do interior structural repair, floors, ceilings, walls, handrails, whatever the case may be.
Oh, I see. I thought that all the work I was seeing at the town hall was by outside people. I'm a little confused, but okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Gentleman at the left microphone.
Frank Cristofaro, Forest Street. When we tore down the previous school, it was only 40 years old. All right, so the maintenance was not done too well on the previous school, and therefore cost us in a close of about $130 million when you figure the interest on the bonds and everything. So the maintenance is crucial in taking care of these buildings so they last. And that wasn't done from before with the leaky roofs and everything. And again, when that came about, I brought up the idea, well, why can't we retrofit the wires and get it up to date, and all that would have cost a lot cheaper. But we ended up building this beautiful school, which is great. It's built, it's being paid for. So the maintenance is crucial on all the school buildings in this town.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, we'll go to a vote. Oh, we're not going to go vote, we're going to the next item. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. So the next item was item 6, which was school maintenance.
Yeah, I had a question on that, Mr. Moderator. Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. Yeah, so here we go, the same department, facilities management. A total of $554,000 being given to the school facility, to facilities management. I understand one's town maintenance, one's school maintenance. Is kind of compartmentalized. Am I reading that correctly?
If I can interject one thing there. When the maintenance department was created, it was split between town maintenance and school maintenance. So that's the way it's always been right from the get-go, is that the maintenance department was...
Yes.
The idea is that you would use the same people to do both services, but they would be billed off to separate budgets.
Right, and one would assume that school maintenance is going to be a lot bigger because there's more space, more buildings, more physical plant to take care of. So is this another case, I want to know, Mr. Murray, is this another case where we only really funded it halfway?
Mr. Russell?
Yes. And what I heard referred to as recurring expenses. What are recurring expenses? What's an example of a recurring expense?
Maintenance on mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, building envelope systems, that type of thing.
Yeah, but does that mean labor, or does it
Both.
include parts? It's
Labor,
both
material.
labor and parts,
Yes,
is what I'm
correct.
hearing?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay. Next is line 7, Harbor Master dredging, $130,800.
And as if you're not tired of hearing from me already, Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road, mainly as a comment on this one, $130,000 for North Shore River shoaling dredging, that is for what? Is it not for permitting, or is it for actually somebody going out there sucking up mud and stuff?
Mr. DeMayo.
Good evening, Harbor Master. Mike DeMayo. This grant was for the permitting engineering for the North and South Rivers. That only just the permanent engineering, not the actual dredging. We can't apply for dredge money until we have permits in hand.
I just heard it referred to as a grant. It's not a grant. It's an appropriation from free cash.
Well, sir, it actually was a grant. This was a grant award that we got in December of '24 that was rescinded. The total grant amount was $261,600.
Right.
It was a 50-50 share of the town of Situate. Marshfield's share was $130,800. That's why it's in Article 5. The grant could have been $32,700, which would have been a $98,100 savings. However, with the passing of the MBTA tonight, I will be emailing the state tomorrow in hopes to rescind the $130,800 back to the town, to taxpayers.
And Mr. Ryder, that's kind of where I'm leading, Mr. Moderator, because this is a number that was thrown at us tonight as part of the scare campaign, and it was already taken care of, just like the $500,000 for the airport was already taken care of. More misleading information. Thank you very much.
Okay, the last item we've got is IT HPE switch replacement. That was questioned. Any further question? Seeing that, I'm going to go to a vote on Article 5.
Mr. Moderator,
Where are we?
you're going to a vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you.
Yeah, that's okay.
Advisory Board opinion.
Hi, Chris Rowland, 45 Whitford Circle Advisory Board. The Advisory Board voted unanimously to recommend this article. This article obviously is a list of expenditures that would have been paid for by free cash. We are, as a board, discussed and determined that these items are important and that we understand why they're being moved forward while the free cash is available for this. However, it's our recommendation as a board that these types of items be included in the annual budget.
My apologies, Mr. Rowland. Without a presenter, I don't automatically go down to the Advisory Board. So, no further discussion. This is a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 5, please raise your hand. All opposed? I declare that that passes by a majority. Next. 24. Article 24. Article 24, the planning board moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code, Division 3 zoning bylaw, Article 5, use regulations, Chapter 305 to 5.02, table of use regulations is set forth in Article 24 of the October 20, 2025 special town meeting warrant, and further, that the town clerk be authorized to make clerical, editorial, and other adjustments to effectuate purposes hereof. Discussion from the planning board.
Greg Guimond, Ice House Lane. I am the town planner. Article 24 would allow boat storage through special permit in the industrial district.
Okay. Advisory board?
The advisory board recommends approval of this article.
Okay, discussion from the floor. Seeing that, I'll go to a vote. This is a 2/3 vote because it's a planning board article. All those in favor of Article 24, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 24 passes by 2/3. Article 25. Article 25, the planning board moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code, Division 3, zoning bylaw, Article 5, use regulations, Chapter 305, 5.04, table of use regulations is set forth in Article 25 of the October 20th, 2025 special town meeting warrant, and further that the town clerk be authorized to make clerical, editorial, and other adjustments to effectuate purposes hereof. Mr. Guimond.
Greg Guimond, Ice House Lane. This article creates a separate use category for aircraft sales, service, and locates it in the airport district.
Okay, advisory board?
Finn Fallicara, Holly Road. The advisory board recommends approval of this article.
Sorry, discussion from the floor. Again, this is a 2/3 vote. Ms. Maglio.
Yeah, Priscilla Maglio, Arlington Street. What is the airport district? Is that going to be on the runway? Is it going to be down by Old Colony Drive? Is it going to be on a new piece of land close to the airport?
Okay, let's find
Is it
out.
going to be for the helicopters that you want to have a pad for?
Mr. Guimond, can you answer that question?
The airport district is, I don't have a map unfortunately, but it's pre-existing. We're not changing that district. We're not expanding that district, but it basically allows what's already going on at the airport. Occasionally people sell them. They're going to need gas. They need service. It makes sense to have that located in the district.
Does that satisfy your question?
Not really. What part of the airport? You say airport district, on the driveway going up to the airport where the office is? Where are you going to do this?
Mr. Guimond.
I would expect it would be by the hangars and by the office.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Woman at the right mic.
Hi, Muriel Tausi on Union Street. It just seems I guess maybe that answered, but it just seemed very vague. Does this benefit the town in tax revenue at all, or how does this benefit, and how big will this be? Will it be expanded?
Mr. Guimond.
All it is doing is allowing the uses that are already there to actually continue. We had airplane sales in our B2, which makes no sense. Nobody's going to, look at an airplane in B2 and say, oh yeah, I want to buy this. They're going to want to be at the airport so they can actually make sure that the airplane works.
If we're already doing it, why are we voting on it?
Because it's not covered in the zoning bylaw as an allowed use.
Okay, so we're doing something we're not supposed to be doing?
I believe it's just a clarification of the zoning to be in line with what's happening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. Yeah, I had a similar point, was that apparently all those activities have been going on all this time, apparently, and so now we're going to make it legal. And maybe somebody, especially on the Airport Commission, should think about maybe adjusting the rent that we collect, because now they're probably going to be doing a lot more activities there and making a lot more money. And as we know, the contract with the people leasing the airports stipulates that if the town does anything to enhance the productivity or the usages of an airport area, then the lease and the rent agreement can be renegotiated. The second point is, what is this thing I haven't seen before, that the town, according to the motion, the town clerk be authorized to make clerical, editorial, or other adjustments to effectuate the purposes hereof? Wow. What in the world is that?
That's the first time this has been in the articles, so, on the motions. I don't know. Yeah.
In the event that there's any non-substantive change, in order to put this in our town code book, the town clerk has the authority to change a number, add a period, add a comma, things of that nature.
Who determines what's substantive and non-substantive?
Well, punctuation is different from changing the words, and that's what we're referring to.
Well, then why don't you just put in there? Editorial is not punctuation.
It's beyond the scope. I got your point, but it was really beyond,
I'd
the
like to make
discussion
an
is beyond the
amendment.
scope of
I'd
the
like to
article.
propose an amendment to delete the word editorial or other.
I'm not going to accept that amendment. I'm not.
I have a right to do
that. It's not an important thing. This is just
It's not an
language in
important
these
thing.
motions.
I'm the voter, you're the moderator. I get to determine what's important.
Not always. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Lynch.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So, you know, looking at this, I'm never down at the airport that much, but I would say that probably what was going on there is that individuals who own private planes at the airport were selling them. There wasn't an actual big hangar set up where they brought in, you know, brand new planes to sell. But this will authorize that. And yeah, I would like to know what the airport is paying the town of Marshfield to rent that airport, and if they're going to expand their business into retail of airplanes that will be flying in and having people and more traffic go there, we should know what they're paying for rent for our airport that's worth $10 or $20 million. So where's the airport commission? Is someone there going to tell us what the contract says?
This is a planning board article. It wasn't an airport article, so, and it's, I don't know if Mr. Guimond has any of that information.
How about
No, I do not.
Bob Galvin? Do you know what the contract with the airport is? How much do they pay us per year? Because you have to approve all these contracts, correct?
I don't know the exact figure in the lease, but I could look it up and email you the lease.
Well, it's a little late then, Bob. I mean, it'd be nice to know tonight.
The last lease revision was 3 or 4 years ago, Steve, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the exact monthly amount.
Right. I can guarantee you it's way less than what they should be paying for a $10 or $20 million airport.
Okay. Further discussion?
Tina Shea, Careswell Street. So you don't have any figure? How about financials? You can't look that up? I believe it was is it $100 a year?
We don't, Mr. Galvin just said he doesn't have that information. It was.
Mr. Galvin doesn't, but the financials, they don't have that there?
Pardon me? Okay.
For FY25, is that on? Can you hear me?
It's not on.
Okay. For 25, FY '25, it was $53,886.
Okay. See no further discussion, I'll go to a vote again. This is a two-thirds vote because it's a planning board article. All those in favor of Article 25, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that that passes by two-thirds. Next. 10. Article 10. The Historical Commission and the Community Preservation Committee move that the town vote upon the recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, for historic preservation and rehabilitation purposes, to vote to appropriate the sum of $65,550 for the exterior renovations to the Daniel Webster Law Office and Museum, and to meet this appropriation, transfer said sum from the CPC's historic reserves, said funds to be expended on the direction of the Open Space Committee and Community Preservation Committee.
Dennis Keller, 49 Marshfield Drive, Chair of the CPC. As it was written, the Historical Commission presented this as an application for $65,550. It was approved unanimously by the board to repair the clapboards, the siding, the roof, and the exterior painting to preserve this building.
Advisory Board?
Vin Falakar, Holly Road. The subject article reflects the CPC's high level of custodial care for the town's priceless historic assets. The need for the project is appropriate given the condition and age of the building, as well as the nature of the proposed work. The roof is well past its useful life and patched. Some of the roof's sheathing is likely in need of replacement. The same holds true for the siding. There is no visible damage to the interior ceilings and walls at this time, but it's likely coming. The roof work should be initiated as quickly as possible, according to our building, Mr. Russell. The advisory board recommends approval of Article 10.
Okay. It's going to be a majority vote. Discussion from the floor.
Joe Pasevich, Wilson Road. When was the last, I'd like to know, Mr. Moderator, when was the last time the Daniel Webster Law Office and Museum was worked on? Had any significant renovation work done?
Do we have that information?
You don't know?
Let's see if we can find out.
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, I do not know. Fred Russell doesn't know. I don't know if anybody from the Historical Commission may know.
You're probably going to want to give a better answer than that since you volunteered. A more complete answer, let's put it that way.
Tom Whalen, Old Main Street. Probably 5 years ago, the building was moved from one location to another one. And at that time, we did considerable repairs to the building.
Okay.
Thank you. I thought it sounded familiar, like we had just voted on something like this not too long ago, which makes me wonder. Hopefully they pick better materials or something that'll last longer. The other thing is this work done, pardon my ignorance on this, is this done on prevailing wage rules?
Mr. Russell?
Yes, prevailing wage applies.
Prevailing wage applies, thank you. And let's see, hold on a second, I'm going to check my note here. Excuse me, Mr. Moderator, I'd like to report that there's a woman sitting here who has harassed me each time I've gone to the microphone, and I would like you to direct her to stop harassing me. All right, thank you.
Please stop harassing Joe.
Thank you.
I'm sincere about that. Ms. Maglio.
I liked Mr. Pacevich's question. I'd like to know how long is all this work on the buildings, the office and the museum? How long is that going to take? 3 months, 1 month?
Let me find out.
Yes,
Do
Mr.
we know how long that's going to take to do the work?
Well, Mr. Moderator, the law office is the museum, and it hasn't gone up to bid yet because the funds haven't been approved.
Okay. Not sure.
So what do you think prevailing wages are?
Mr. Moderator, the total cost, including prevailing wage, is $65,550.
That's materials and the wage?
That's all in.
What are you going to use for materials? Gold? I mean, that's a lot of money just for that one place. What are you using? AZAC, gold, wood, what? Shingles, what?
Mr. Keller.
Yeah, I'm not the, yes, Mr. Moderator, I'm not the builder myself, and not in the trades. So again, we'll trust those that we are counseling with to perform the work.
Okay.
Who's the builder?
We don't know because it hasn't gone out to bid yet. We're appropriating the money.
In my opinion, that's an outrageous amount of money to take care of that problem. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lynch.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So I'm going to vote for this article, but there's some things that I think we should be aware of. First off, I'd like to know what the running total of money we have spent to rebuild and take care of that building. We could probably build 3 of them for the money. I mean, I've been coming to town meeting for 40 years here. We give them money every single year. But anyway, that's besides the point. So, but I'm going to vote for it. But why we're talking about these type of things, like to go back to the last few articles about the school maintenance and the facilities management, we should be having a handout. You're going to spend $540,000 on maintenance. You should have a handout itemizing the big projects so we understand what you're spending on. Just throwing you $500,000 for facilities management. We have no idea where that money is really going.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Katie Gensheimer, Tupelo Road. If we don't have any bids, how do we know that that's the sum that it's going to be, the $65,550?
Mr. Keller?
Yes, Mr. Moderator, we have quotes, but we haven't contracted with anybody to do the building.
Okay. And then this can't come out of the money that we just approved for the facilities, the $250,000 that we just approved for facilities management?
It's a different source of funding. It's coming out of the historic part of the Community Preservation Act.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
And she is talking again.
Yes.
Lizanne Road, Sheridan Drive. The library is on, the building is on the National Historic Places list. It houses Daniel Webster's collections inside. I don't understand what we're discussing here. It needs to be repaired.
Okay. Seeing no other discussion from the floor, we'll go to a vote. This is a majority vote. All those in favor for Article 10, please raise your hand. All those opposed, I declare that that passes. On next. Article 9 is next. Article 9, the Open Space Committee and the Community Preservation Committee move that the town, this is misworded, move that the town vote upon recommendation of the Community Preservation Committee pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, the Community Preservation Act, for affordable housing, open space, passive recreation, and/or conservation purposes to appropriate the sum of $20,000 in legal and acquisition costs and $2,400,000 in land purchase expense for a total appropriation of the sum of $2,420,000 to enable the town to acquire a certain parcel of land known as 0 Main Street, Marshfield, Plymouth County, Massachusetts, and more particularly shown on the Town of Marshfield assessors maps as parcels D18-02-02 and D18-0201, and contain 18.83 acres of land more or less and more particularly described in a deed recorded in the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds at Book 57016, page 29, standing in the name of Kathleen Wallace, and shown on a plan entitled Marshfield Hills Estates, definite subdivision off Main Street, existing conditions plan, prepared by Celebrity Realty LLC and by Morris Engineering Company, Incorporated, Jason Scott, PLS, dated 8/29/24, on file with the town clerk, together with all flowage rights and easements, and subject to all well rights and easements. Said land to be managed by the Marshfield Conservation Commission and the Marshfield Municipal Housing Trust, and further to meet this appropriation to transfer the sum of $2,420,000 from the CPC undesignated fund reserves, and further to authorize the Select Board to accept the deed to the town of fee simple interest or less, and further to authorize the Conservation Commission and the Select Board to submit on behalf of the town any and all applications deemed necessary for grants and/or reimbursements from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and/or the United States under the Self-Help Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 132A, Section 11, and any or other state or federal programs, including those in aid of conservation land or affordable housing acquisition, and/or any others in any way connected with the scope of this article, and further, the Select Board be directed to grant a perpetual affordable housing and/or conservation restriction on said parcel of land, meeting the requirements of Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, Section 12, and/or Mass General Law, Chapter 184, Section 31 to 33, and to enter all agreements and to execute any and all other instruments as may be necessary to effect said. That's about the longest thing I'm going to read all night.
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Mr.
Moderator.
Keller.
Yeah, Mr. Moderator, again, Dennis Keller, 49 Marshfield Drive, Chair of the CPC. This was another application received, vetted, researched, and ultimately approved unanimously to go in front of you town meeting. I do want the town to know that you have all put money into the CPC account. Currently, it's a little over $8 million, and that source of money can only be used for historic, affordable housing, and open spaces. So I'll defer my time to the presenter of this application from Open Spaces.
Susan Karen, Riverside Circle, Marshfield Open Space Committee. The total funding request of $2,420,000. Can you hear me? Okay. Is that better? I don't want to break it. Thank you. Thank you. The $2,420,000 includes the purchase price of $2,400,000 and $20,000 for closing costs and a conservation restriction. The appraised value of the property is based on the approval of a 10-lot subdivision, including a 1,400-foot roadway. It could not be understated how important it is to protect this property due to its location, abutting 139 acres of protected land, creating 158 acres of undisturbed forest and wetlands. Building this subdivision requires the addition of 4,400 cubic yards of fill, estimated at 2,200 truckloads, the removal of most trees and vegetation, 11-foot-high retaining walls, and a wetland crossing that will disrupt wildlife corridors, impact wetland resource areas, and create ecosystem damage extending beyond the site itself to the abutting protected properties. The fragmentation of open space is one of the leading causes of habitat loss. In addition to the immediate impacts from the development, invasive and opportunistic plant species gain footholds at the forest edges that are created by this disruption, and often become out of control, weakening trees and overtaking native species over time. It is impossible to mitigate for this type of damage. We have an opportunity before us now to prevent this. We hope you'll support this.
Advisory Board opinion.
Don McAleer, Advisory Board. Advisory Board recommends approval of this article. We have toured the property, and it is beautiful up there. The acquisition will enable us to provide more habitat for wildlife protection as it butts up to more currently owned town land. It's beautiful, and this funding is there for it. Thank you.
Okay, going to go to discussion from the floor. This is a majority vote when we're done with our discussion. This is two-thirds? Oh. Didn't say it in my motion. Discussion from the floor.
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. So around 2015, when there was a plan to create soccer fields on Ferry Street, that fell through, which I don't remember the details of because it was kind of before my time. The owner of the property offered for the town to purchase it. The DPW wanted to purchase it. The price was $900,000. Well, that was the assessed value. The owner of the property wanted an additional $300,000 to make up for the sand and gravel on that property, is my understanding of the details. The select board at the time refused that $300,000, and the sale did not go through. And approximately 9 years later, we have a 40B on that site. So it is very important to support the purchase of land in this town when we can. We have, especially with the challenges that we have just seen and are gonna continue to see with development and overdevelopment. The CPC needs to retain their percentage, be able to purchase land whenever they can, and we absolutely have to purchase this land. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll go with you.
Steve Lakatos, 184 Elm Street. The only question I had was, in referring to the problems we're having with the state wanting to build, is there any chance the state could force us to take any of these open properties that we've been buying and build housing on them?
No, because they are restricted.
Hi, Bonnie McCarthy, 83 Donald Road.
Yep.
To that point, I have a question. Article 9 in the warrant specifically says, in our copy, the town to acquire this for affordable housing and open space. Yet the handout, and I know this isn't usually approved by the town before it goes out, says that they're seeking funds to purchase this to prevent development. So it looks like we're approving this not just for open space, but for affordable housing. Am I correct on that?
Ms. Karen?
So it is for building?
Yes. No, I can clarify that. It was determined that just one house, because it's approved for 10 house lots, one house lot at the front of the property on the Main Street side will be set aside for affordable housing if it's appropriate to do so. So there'll be a conservation restriction on the entire site, which will preclude any development. So there'll be just one house lot will be set aside in the event it becomes appropriate, if
How big would the house lot be?
1 acre.
1 acre? So
that hasn't been finalized.
How many units? Does that have to be part of this?
The final details have not been determined on that. That was just requested by the select board member, one of them, that we set aside one house lot only for.
So do you have to, or did you choose to?
No, we chose to do that because it's actually on the other side.
I don't think we're at a loss for housing at this point.
Well, no, it's affordable housing only.
But
affordable housing only, not
still, I mean, with what we just heard the fact that even made it in here. To me, it just doesn't make sense.
It was a compromise.
For the one lot? Okay. I feel like that shouldn't have been in there, but that's my opinion.
Ms. Maglio.
Okay, Priscilla Maglio. I remember this article not written like this, but this particular piece of land being discussed at a previous town meeting. And there was a house on it, and they wanted to sell the land with the house, and the same deal would have happened. But it wasn't, the house might be the original house that was on the property to begin with. Is that correct?
No, it's not. This house is, you must be mistaking this for another property. And there is a town-owned property north of this that did have a house on it, that actually still does, and that was set aside for affordable housing. There's never been any development on this lot. So you're just, it's not the lot you're thinking about.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew Stewart, Highland Street. I just wanted to, I'm in support of acquisition of open space by the town. I think it's really important for the town to do that and to preserve our wetlands areas, our wooded areas, which are getting clear-cut like crazy. This is a flaw in the way that we permit things, in my opinion, because I saw this firsthand. It was permitted through the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit for bringing in over 500 cubic yards of fill. It was granted a special permit for construction in the Inland Wetlands District. It was granted a Conservation Commission order of conditions for installing a culvert through a water course, essentially, and filling land in a wetlands resource area. And then it was granted planning board approval for the subdivision after all of that. So we're now paying almost $2.5 million for something that we permitted as a town to somebody to build. And they're turning right around and saying, hey, well, you permitted it, we can develop it, but if you want to save it, now you got to pay us $2.5 million. We had an opportunity to put a conservation restriction on this by denying the permits. So there's a little bit of, it just doesn't feel right, but I definitely support the acquisition of open space, but I think that our permitting bodies might have to look at maybe they're permitting a little bit harder on some of these things, because this is a good example of how it can turn around and bite us in the butt.
Okay. Mr. Lynch.
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So I was completely behind this article, going to vote yes. That's when I thought we were going to vote no to the MBTA zoning. Since we voted yes to the MBTA zoning, and 10 houses will help 10 people achieve their dream of having a home. I don't have a problem with 10 single-family houses. I got a problem with our boards, which I'm a member of now, but wasn't then for the permitting of this, not doing their job. They could have stopped this, like Andrew said, and we wouldn't have to be spending $2.5 million, and that would have a conservation restriction on it. So I'm going to vote against this now, because we don't have to worry about 40B, and we don't have to worry about someone turning that into an MBTA zone, because now we've complied with Beacon Hill. Thank you.
Okay. Trish.
Tricia Riley, 170 Whitford Circle. This is exactly why we voted in the CPA years ago. It was for preserving open space. There was the affordable housing, and there was the historic, and it was before recreation use. The vast majority of people who were here that night who voted in favor of the CPA did it for this purpose. We need to preserve as much open space as we possibly can. Once it's built on, it'll never be able to be reclaimed. I don't think 10 single-family houses on 1-acre lots is going to do a lot to alleviate the housing crisis. I would much prefer seeing this as open space, and I want to commend the Open Space Committee for their work on this. There aren't too many of these parcels, so it's important to grab them when you can. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Keith.
Camp Keith, Smoke Hill Ridge. I am a big nature lover. I don't see the value, though, of trying to take this land, which is already next to so many other acres. I mean, to me, it's a small drop in the bucket. And I know I live in the same neighborhood as Sue Karen, and we have houses there, and about 30 houses, and there's wildlife running everywhere, and they eat every plant I have in sight. I've even had a flying squirrel in my fireplace. There's nature everywhere. The houses don't really disrupt the wildlife corridors, and we don't have much of a corridor there. This one already has plenty. The problem I have with this is, like others have already said, I do not agree with eliminating housing, because I think in this town, we have a shortage even of 1 acre lots for housing. I'd like to see this particular parcel be more geared to the affordable housing, even if it was try to put 5 units on here or something. I mean, for $2.5 million, it's too bad that the money, I mean, it has to go to buy the land, but community preservation, we have quite a bit of money, and I feel like we're not doing, what do we do with the affordable housing part of it? I don't feel like we ever really have anything that comes to town meeting. I don't see why we can't take some of this land and stretch it out and make a few affordable, smaller, much smaller houses on here, and maybe we don't have to do the acre zoning. I'm not sure about that, whether we could do half acre or whatever. But that's what I'd like to see here. I think it's too much conservation, and I don't think we need to preserve this much open space. Thank you.
Okay.
Bert
Mr. O'Donnell.
Bert O'Donnell, 90 Summer Street. I'm a member of the Conservation Commission.
Can you speak into the mic? I can barely hear you.
Member of the Conservation Commission, but I only speak for myself. As far as Mr. Stewart's comments about conservation and pushing it through, I'd like to say that nobody on the Conservation Commission wanted to see this permitted, but we're bound by the wetland regulations and we follow the rules. And the developer was able to put together a plan that met both the state wetlands regulations and our bylaws. As far as comments about doing anything with additional housing here, you need to listen to the amount of fill that was going to be brought in there and the amount of disturbance that was going to be to that area. It just doesn't make sense to develop that area. And even the one house lot out front, that's even marginal on its own. I'm not even sure that's a good use of that lot. I would like to hear the planner comment on the implications of picking up an additional 18 acres for our glam calculations. You know, rather than have it develop for something else, use it as open space. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Harry Klebanoff.
Just a moment. Mr. Guimond.
Greg Guimond, Ice House Lane. The planner is in favor of anything we can do to increase our GLAM number for 40B, because that, unlike housing units, once we have the GLAM number, we don't have to worry about 10 years and a census change and falling back behind 10%.
Okay. Now you can.
I'm still Harry Klebanoff, 52 Assumption Road. Not only do I want to support the Open Space Committee in advocating for the preservation of this area, but I also want to support nature a little bit here. Nature was here way before us, and nature did pretty well until we got here. This is one example of what we're going to do on a parcel of 18 acres. It doesn't stay in a parcel, and it doesn't recognize property boundaries. The impact of development, especially the way Susan described it, is going to impact probably about 160 acres. So what we're doing in preserving this is preserving 160 acres, not just 18 acres. Yeah, it would have been great if we could do it for less, but the bottom line is we don't always get second chances. What Susan described is going to be a very significant impact, and it's not just going to stay on those 18 acres. Development is a very costly thing. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Manager, you already spoke, so you can't speak again. So
Not on this?
No, you spoke on this article, so you can't speak again.
Delia DeLongchamp, 241 Ferry Street. I just wanted to say that some of my expertise is in land use planning, and I've heard a lot of discussion tonight around a number of conservation or other land use planning articles, and it just sounds like a lot of people are confused at times about what they're specifically voting for. What I'm understanding from the planner here is that because money is already in the CPC fund, it can only be used as is dictated by the CPA law that the town has adopted. It can only be used for conservation, acquisition, buying of conservation land, which can then sometimes be used for affordable housing. But once that land is also in conservation with the conservation restriction, which is a deed restriction of the land, it can't be developed unless that restriction is released by the state legislature. That's a 2/3 vote. They have to come up with the money to pay for the remediation plus cost of that to be reimbursed to the town CPC fund. So it's very unlikely it would be used in that way. And I just think, you know, it would be nice to hear some feedback, I think, from people in town supporting the town officials on the planning side, because there's been a lot of work put into these proposals and decisions are not made lightly with town's resources and budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. O'Donnell.
Katie O'Donnell, 90 Summer Street. I was on the planning board when we reviewed this. I voted against it because it is a significant impact to the amount of fill and removal and the grading. I actually don't think it should be developed at all, and I was wondering if it'd be possible to do an amendment that would strike affordable housing from it.
That's an acceptable amendment. So you want to amend the article to strike the affordable housing?
Yes, I think it should
component.
only be for open space. I think that for the town, there are other places in town that I think this would make more sense. The sensitivity of this site and the wetlands and everything involved, I think it would kind of literally be a quagmire for affordable housing, and I think that our resources would be better spent elsewhere, and this should be entirely protected.
So any other discussion on it's striking the affordable housing component? You do?
Grayson Pelletier, 1050 Caresville Street. I would like to oppose this amendment as a previous resident once mentioned during this meeting. There's not a lot of people here that are under 30, and as one of the very many people that are under 30 here, I would like to state that we would like at least some affordable housing to be zoned in Marshfield for the sake of us coming back and contributing to the town in any way possible. And to do that, we'd like to live here. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the amendment to strike the affordable housing component, raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that the amendment passes. Okay, we're on to the total article at this point. Seeing no further discussion, again, this is a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of the amended Article 9 without the affordable component in it, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that Article 9 passes by 2/3. Next. Article 2 is next. Article 2, the Select Board moves that the town vote to ratify a collective bargaining agreement and appropriate the sum of $1,098,177.77 to meet obligations for union contracts with the Marshfield Firefighters Local 2568, International Association of Firefighters, AFL-CIO, for fiscal years beginning July 1st, 2023 through June 30, 2026, and to meet said appropriation, transfer said sum from free cash. This is going to be a majority vote. Who is presenting?
Mr. Moderator, point of order, if I may.
Just a moment.
Really brief.
I'll give you just a sec, Joe. Okay. I'll be right with you, Joe. I didn't, I read what was in my notes from before. This is one of the moving targets that we had, there's a different number. The number is $1,113,982.60.
That was my only point.
Okay, good. I get the motions in advance before town meeting, and I can't tell you how many times they change. I've learned if I get them 3 days before a town meeting, I'm not going to print them because they're going to be a forest of trees that are going to come down. So this was a late change in the articles from my last set of motions. So we have the revised number up there, $1,113,982.60. Advisory board opinion?
Vin Falacar, Holly Road, for the advisory board. So I have a little bit of a spiel on this. The subject article asks the special town meeting to vote on the ratification of the recently negotiated contract between the town and the local 2568. The contract expired June 30th, 2023, requiring our employees to work under the condition and wages of the old contract. As such, their wages have been frozen for 2+ years. In discussion with Chief LaSelva, he is finding the situation to be a significant detriment to the morale of the station and his ability to attract desirable candidates for job openings. So you see the cost. It sounds expensive, but realize that we're 2 years into a contract period that we haven't paid for. So that's where a lot of this cost is coming from.
Okay, thank you.
So the...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wasn't quite done.
I thought you were done.
No, not yet. So there are also components in here that Chief LaSalva feels are going to help him in attracting good candidates for our positions, and that those are things like training and qualification openings or requirements that will help people improve their job situation. So all in all, when you sum total this all together, the advisory board felt that this was an article that we strongly recommend to the town. Thank you.
Thank you. This is going to be a majority vote. All those in favor of Article 2, please raise your hand. All those opposed. I declare that that passes by a majority. We're on to Article 26. The planning board moves that the town vote to amend the Marshfield Town Code, Division 3, zoning bylaw, Article 5, use regulations, chapters 305, 5.04, table of use regulations as set forth in Article 26 of the October 20, 2025 special town meeting warrant, and further that the town clerk be authorized to make clerical, editorial, and other adjustments to effectuate purposes hereof. Mr. Guimond.
Greg Guimond, Ice House Lane. Article 26 creates a separate use category for towing and impound storage, and it allows it in the industrial district by special permit.
Advisory board?
Yeah, no spiel here, Mr. Moderator. Vin Falacar, Holly Road, we recommend approval of this article.
Okay. This is going to be a 2/3 vote because it's a zoning change. Any discussion from the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 26, please raise your hand. All those opposed? I declare that passes by 2/3. We are on to Article 7. The Select Board moves that the town vote to appropriate this amount of $7,851,680, $7,851,680 for the purpose of paying for the cost of roof replacement at the Martinson Elementary School, 257 Forest Street, Marshfield, Mass. 02050, including the payment of all costs incidental or relative thereto, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, the project, which proposed roof project would materially extend the useful life of the school and preserve an asset that otherwise is capable of supporting the required educational program, and for which the town of Marshfield has applied for a grant from the Mass School Building Authority, MSBA. said amount to be expended on the direction of the Town of Marshfield Select Board, and further to meet this appropriation, the Town Treasurer Collector, with the approval of the Marshfield Select Board, be authorized to borrow said amount under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, or pursuant to any other enabling authority, and further, that the town acknowledge that the MSBA grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and if the MSBA's Board of Directors votes to invite the town to collaborate with the MSBA on this proposed repair project, any project cost the town incurs in excess of any grant that may be approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town, provided that any appropriation hereunder shall be subject to and contingent upon an affirmative vote of town meeting of the town to exempt the amounts required for the payment of interest and principal on said borrowing from the limitations on taxes imposed by Mass General Law 59, Section 21C, in parentheses, Proposal 2.5, and that if invited to collaborate with the MSBA on the proposed repair project, the amount of the borrowing authorized pursuant to this vote shall be reduced on any grant amount set forth in the project funding agreement that may be executed between the Town of Marshfield and the MSBA, and this is presented by the school committee. Okay, Mr. Sullivan.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I am Pat Sullivan, Superintendent of Marshfield Public Schools, and I'm here with Assistant Superintendent Tom Miller of Business and Finance, and our Town Facilities Manager, Fred Russell. All three of us are residents. I'm also joined on Zoom by Matt Kazakowski, who is the project architect affiliated with this job. What we are respectfully requesting tonight is the appropriation of the amount of $7,406,864 for the roof replacement at the Martinson Elementary School. It's important, as you saw from the article, to remember that we have been invited into the Massachusetts Building Authority, that's the MSBA's competitive grant program, which will allow us a reimbursement rate of 49.31% on eligible costs associated with this roofing project. That's an important consideration because that's time sensitive and something that is fiscally responsible for us to pursue. Martinson Elementary roof maximum MSBA grant then will be $3,644,230, which leaves an estimated total project cost for the town of Marshfield of $3,762,634. A little bit about the Martinson roof. The Martinson Elementary School was originally constructed in 1963 with an addition and partial roof replacement in 1998. No roof replacement has occurred since the 1998 scope of work, placing the existing EPDM, it's the roofing system, at 27 plus years old. The design team that has reviewed existing conditions has concluded that the age of the roof is the single largest factor contributing to the roof failure. The MSBA, the group that we're lucky to be in, is established in 2004, replacing school building assistance program administered by the Department of Education, which is now called DESE. It's funded through 1 penny of 6.25% sales tax. And we've had 3 MPSD projects completed with the MSBA, Governor Winslow HVAC and boilers in 2010, Marshfield High School, obviously in 2014, and Furnace Brook Middle School roof in 2018. The MSBA has accepted 69 schools from 36 districts into the accelerated repair program for the 2024-2025 cycle. Many were not allowed into this program. The accelerated repair program focuses on the preservation of existing assets, which is what we're really trying to do, preserve this particular school because the roof is failing. Districts are required to use pre-selected consultants, and districts are required to appropriate funding quickly in order to adhere to an accelerated project schedule. It's a guarantee our roof is failing, and if we don't take action now, it's not a guarantee we're going to get in the MSBA program moving forward. Let's turn it over to Tom.
Next slide. Here's the project timeline. Back in February 2016, we submitted a statement of interest for both the Martinson roof and the Furnace Brook Middle School roof. We were accepted for the middle school roof in 2016 and completed the project in 2019. For a couple years, the project, the accelerated repair program was on hiatus, but finally in October of 2024, we were invited to collaborate with the MSBA on a schematic design study. Next slide. Last December, a special town meeting approved the schematic design study. This August, just this past August, the schematic design package was submitted to the School Building Authority, and now we're here tonight, and it's expected on next week that the MSBA board will give us final project funding approval. After this, there will be a to-be-determined time for a town election, and then roof replacement will begin at the end of the school year and conclude in the fall of 2026. Next slide. This is what, again, summarizing what Dr. Sullivan said, the estimated project cost is just over $7.4 million. That 49.31% reimbursement rate on all eligible costs by the School Building Authority. Maximum grant is 3.6. Town of Marshfield estimated project cost of 3.762. This project will be presented as a 20-year debt exclusion, and what does that mean? Next slide. It's a 20-year bond with an estimated 4.25 interest rate. The average Marshfield home value is now $758,800. The average annual cost to the average home would only be $22.76 over 20 years. Year one, 58 cents per week. Year 20, 29 cents per week.
Okay, thank you. Advisory Board.
Ed Du Bois, Woodlawn Circle, the advisory board. We voted unanimously for this to be approved. We did a third-party study based on a $7.8 million budget, and we had an independent company, Consigli Construction, did a review of the budget that they had at $7.8 million, and we confirmed that price was adequate. I do have a question on the $7.4 million number. As of last week, it was 7.8, and the number seemed accurate at 7.8. So that's what we voted on. So if you can explain the $400,000 delta. And,
please do.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We had a meeting last week with the MSBA, project manager, architect, and they came back with a few revisions. Most notably, it was it was a question with the alternates. If you do look at I can send you the new updated budget, and then
it was four alternates.
It was alternates, yeah, yes. And there were a couple and because of the alternates were pulled down, it did change very slightly some of the other percentages basis.
The largest alternate was around $661,000, and that was structural, which got rejected because of the solar got rejected. So I'd like to just understand what that $400,000 is.
The alternate was the metal panels on the side. That was the largest alternate. That was $340,000. That was not a structural. It was actually covering.
Yep, understood. Yep, and that was accepted.
No, we haven't. It's gonna be an alternate. Once we get the bids, if we can afford to do it, we'll look at that.
Okay. All right. One other question. I think we were happy at the $7.8 million. It's good that it went down, but we also believe that there's other options for roofing material. Currently, you're using an EPDM, you're using a TPO roof in the design, which is a white roof, essentially a white plastic roof. We'd like to consider an EPDM roof, which is a black rubber roof, which is existing. In the Northeast, the heating load, this is primarily heating load area in this region. So you'll actually, the black roof collects heat, and we'd have to pay less for heating during the winter. The white roof is designed for the southern regions of the United States, and is typically used in the south, not in the north.
Yep.
So we strongly suggest having a couple more changes to the design, but we agree with the budget, we agree that it has to happen, but we do think that there's a couple other options that need to be put on the table to, to be considered. I think it'll be more energy efficient for the school. About 15% of the cost annually for heating could be reduced by going with a black roof, so it would save a significant amount of money. The duration of the longevity of an EPDM roof and a TPO roof are similar. It's been discussed with roofing companies and construction managers that the TPO roof is a lot less durable because in the winter it has a freeze-thaw cycle and it can crack and get brittle over decades. It'd take a little while to do that, but the EPDM roof is actually more durable for the northern climates, and we would strongly suggest going with an EPDM roof.
The comments I have, we have the engineer on line too, but I think TPO has welded seamed laps rather than the glued, and that's the failure we're finding. The Furnace Brook School was built with EPDM when back in '98, same timetable. That was the same failure mode that we were seeing at that point. The glue gets dried and delaminates, and because it's black, you have the thermal expansion and contraction more so than the white. The other consideration is TPO is considered more puncture resistant than EPDM, and actually we actually added a cover board to actually increase that puncture resistance. That was one of the other ones.
Can I make a comment on the cover board?
Sure.
The cover board that you've got designed is Densdeck, which is a half-inch sheetrock, essentially, waterproof, but we would recommend going with a high-density overlay in lieu of what you have designed. That will extend the lifetime of it. There's also the EPDM roof has a reinforced EPDM product that is strongly recommended as well. You can essentially throw a knife at it and it will not cut. So it's a premium of about 20 cents per square foot. So it's a little bit of a premium, but it would have a much longer lifespan, and the savings that you'd earn over the heating cycle. It's not in the cooling cycle. You're not even using in the summer, so you're not really cooling. So that's why we're using.
If I may.
Yep.
Not that, we're getting a little into the weeds on particulars here. I appreciate your professionalism and your interest in this, and I suggest you get together with the school offline, but you're getting into very granular details on the roof construction, and what we're really trying to do is see if the town wants to approve it to begin with.
Yeah, it's a large cost, so.
So thank you. Mr. Griffin.
Jack Griffin, 89 Beach Street, Chair of the Capital Budget. Our committee also recommends going to the EPDM rubber roof. I think the proof is in the pudding. When you look at the Martinson School, the original section from 1963 is still being used. So 1963, 37, it's probably what, 63, 37, 25, 62 years old. The 1998 is still workable at 27 years old. Yeah, there's leaks, they could be patched, they're contained. The longevity that I came up with, it's double, it's sometimes triple. The TPO has an average of 20 years. The EDPM has 40, and 50 it actually goes up to. As it was said, it's heating dominant. Some of the sources, I'm going to go right through this, and documented longevity is, there was a study in Wisconsin, which is very cold, 40 years of sub-zero winters, 100-degree summers, 40 years that roof is still going. 2 roofs in Maine, I always get nervous when my legs shake when I speak. I don't understand.
Calm down, it's fine. But you're almost out of time, so just make your point.
EDPM, over 30 years old. Building Magazine recommends it for the roofs. The Roofing Contractor Journal says after more than half a century, half the roofs are still up. With that in mind, you're not going to be spending another $7.4 million in 20 years. This roof, the EDPM, is going to last 40 years, and God knows it already has proven itself. Based on that, the capital budget has voted 3-1 not to approve.
Okay.
Muriel Tausi, Union Street. I have a question and a couple of comments, but is this solar panels again?
Hold on, I'll catch it, all right?
No,
No solar panels on the roof? None? Okay.
no.
All right, good. And because we don't know this commentator over here wants to know why, and it's because solar panels don't have long-term studies of toxicity, and we're talking about our little kids in school, so I always have a concern about that. That's my number one concern, even though my kids are grown. And I also want to make sure that this school is upkept. I graduated from Marshfield High School, the one that got bulldozed because they didn't keep it up. So, excuse me if I'm skeptical, spending $7 million, and I'm thinking, is this going to be another replay with another built school? I mean, it's just crazy. So I just want to make sure that this is going to be kept up, because I'm old enough to remember, and I'm still here, and I'm going to keep remembering, and I'm going to remind anybody that went to Marshfield High School in the 70s what a great school it was. And my house was built in the 1800s, so there's no reason a school from the 1970s should have been bulldozed. Thank
Okay.
you.
Mr. Cornwall.
Barry Cornwell Hill. This is really interesting, hearing a lot of this, but the big question I have is the absence of a replacement reserve study and how this project fits in with that. It seems to me we could operate a lot better at town meeting if we had a chart that told us expected life expectancy for, say, for the building, and then for separate numbers for the various operating conditions, so that we could look at this in the context of, look at one project in the context of others. And then that would also allow the town to pace these things out, to even things, these kinds of capital budget replacement issues on a more equitable basis. So I would ask that this be done for both the school department as well as on the town municipal side for its buildings. I remember when the senior center was created starting in 2001, and that was for $3.75 million. We did, and the borrowing only cost 2.45%. This most recent addition, which doubled the size, was upwards to $9 million. So you can see the escalation. It'll just keep going. It will not drop. But please help us out. Maybe Mr. Russell's already working on these things. Thank you.
Okay.
Tina Shea, Careswell Street. How much of the studies cost? Because I don't think that that's being factored into
I didn't understand what you
the
just said.
studies, the roof studies. I think it was $1 million last year that we paid for the roof study.
Yep.
And now there's the industry construction study, or is that, there's another study
Okay.
that was done?
Mr. Moderator, the feasibility schematic ended up, I don't have the number right here in front of me, but it's in the $150,000 range, so we did not even come close to spending that $1 million. And that 150 will get rolled into the borrowing for the full project.
So where's the 850 from the balance of the million.
It's unspent.
And then, so, I mean, I don't disagree that the roofs obviously need to be fixed, but nobody's talked about, like, cleaning the mold that is definitely in a leaked roof. So is there remediation costs in that?
I'm not sure what you're trying to edit.
Not in this project.
So the roof's gonna come off and then they're gonna ask for more money for remediation, I am assuming? Because you're not gonna put a roof on mold, right?
There's no mold.
How do you know there's no mold?
We've done some evaluations of that, there's no mold.
If you have a leaky roof for years, there's mold.
Any mold that would be seen would abate, but we did do full studies of all of our buildings, air quality, looking specifically for mold. This past year, those are publicly available.
And so how much were those studies?
Approximately $10,000, I think, for system-wide.
Okay. So last year there, when we came to town meeting, you were looking for about maybe 3.5 million for repair for the 4 schools. And now we need $7 million for one roof?
Mr. Miller?
Mr. Moderator, those 4 schools were the other 4 elementary schools, did not include Martinson. Mr. Russell does have a plan in place to address the other school buildings for the elementary schools, something actually, and I'm, Dubois, right? Dubois, so actually something very close, similar to a covering of mainly our Governor Winslow Elementary School and Daniel Webster Elementary School, so it doesn't get to the point where we're at with Martinson right now.
So I'm not understanding. So for 4 roofs, you needed 3.5 million, and for one roof, you need 7 million? Correct. But there's no mold and there's no remediation, there's no extra work that needs to be done?
It's a full roof replacement.
Okay, well, weren't there full roof replacements for the other roofs?
No, they weren't. It's the
Restoration process.
Yeah.
What we propose is a restoration process and seal coating. Basically, we'll come in and do an infrared scan, looking for moist insulation, surgically remove that, seal it back up, and then seal coat the roof with a 4-part application. It'll bring up to 130 mils of thickness and give us a 25-year warranty.
Okay, so it was 3.5 to repair 4 roofs
Yes. Yeah, restore.
and 7 million for one roof?
Yes, Martinson's gone beyond that repair point, to the point where we need a full roof replacement, which is the quotes that we gave you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lynch?
Steve Lynch, 50 Central Street. So we have 5 elementary schools in this town. So we're going to spend $8 million to fix one of the 5. We've had 1,100 less students in the last 15 years enrolled in Marshfield schools. Why are we going to spend all this money? Why don't we retire this school? What's the question?
It's right beyond the scope of the article. I mean, you're using all 5 schools.
So out of the $554,000 that we just appropriated to the Facilities Management Department, how much has been used to try to fix the roof? And how many leaks do you have? And what I don't understand here is that if it's $8 million to fix this roof, and it was $3.5 million to fix 4 school roofs, what is the square footage of this roof compared to?
They said the other roofs were repairs, this is a replacement. And that was, if you remember, the argument from last time was you spend money on repairs to avoid to have to do a replacement, and this is what they
There's
just
just not enough
said.
information here, Jim. I would like to go inspect this project myself, to tell you the truth. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Well, you can go,
Tom?
do you want to? We do have the project architect who could speak a little bit more to this project. He's a roof architect expert, so.
Good afternoon. So I know we've been talking a lot about the membrane. Hopefully you can all hear me here. But there are other items associated with the project other than just the roofing, which are adding some costs. So the base issues that we discovered when we were reviewing this is that the building itself lacks tapered insulation and crickets. So currently what we have is the drainage system is centrally located, and because there are no crickets or tapered insulation, we're ending up with large areas of ponding water. We have about 60 some odd skylights that have all been temporarily covered over to stop any other intrusion of water. And this water is ponding around all of these skylight curbs and mechanical equipment. And as we mentioned, the EPDM seams are failing, so they're pulling up, and the water is basically going inside those broken seams. So our design includes a brand new tapered insulation layout to push this water to the drains. We're also replacing the drains as part of this project. Some of the other things that we're doing is replacing all the roof access hatches, ladders, making sure everything is 100% OSHA compliant to today's standards. There's also a little bit of work that we're doing as part of the MSBA, work. Although we're not doing solar, we do have to indicate an area of solar readiness. So our membrane system has to be approved for the installation of solar, whether we do it or not. We also, per 521 CMR, the amount of money that is being spent on this project, which is more than $500,000 for a roof replacement, does require some minimum ADA upgrades. We use Jensen Hughes as a code consultant to review the ADA accessibility of the entire building, but mostly to ensure that we're meeting the minimum requirements. Their recommendations were some upgrades to the front entry to make sure the thresholds and access for the curb cut met the current ADA standards, provide male and female, both adult and child height accessible toilets and sinks. So those are additional costs that are in this project just based on the dollar amount that has to be spent that we have to do by code requirement. We are taking care of some of the skylight issues. We're going to provide new decking and things in those locations to reduce the number of penetrations that we have on the roof and extend the life of the future roof resolution. We're taking the existing equipment and we are removing and reinstalling and extending curbs to provide the amount of flashing height that's required. And another large cost that we're doing is taking care of some of the brick masonry flashings. The masonry flashings that the roof ties into were in various states of either disrepair or malrepair. And so we have some base designs which are cost conscious, and some of the alternates that will be talked about are looking at trying to enhance those to provide a maybe more appropriate and aesthetic solution by providing some metal panels in those locations so that we can flash into the metal panel system rather than the existing brick through wall that's kind of fallen apart. So although there is a lot here when we're talking about roof, the scope is actually much broader than just the roof itself.
How many other estimates did we get?
So currently, Casaboo's, we partnered with PM&C. Part of our contract requirement was to just have them do the one, but it sounds like there was some outside work that was done to help look at that. But as far as we see it, PM&C's numbers that they gave us seem to be in line with what we are noticing with our other projects in the area.
So you think that's good practice to do an $8 million job with just one estimate?
The conversation goes through me.
Sorry, Jim.
A discussion
Sorry,
going back and
okay.
forth. And I believe Mr. Dubois said that the advisory board had done some analysis with another outside person, and they agreed with the number. That was stated right at the beginning, that Consigli Construction gave them a number.
Okay. And Jim, why do we have to have it solar ready?
They said it's required, if you listen to what he said.
Required by who? Mass General Law? Who is it?
Building code.
Okay, so now we're off the particulars of the technical part of doing the roof. Now it's about process. So this should have had a separate funding source, an alternative funding source. To put it, for the school department to put this on here as an override that will now have to go to the ballot, and if it gets voted down at the ballot, then even if we vote yes, this won't happen. And secondly, for it to get to the ballot, the Board of Selectmen are the only ones that can put an override on the ballot, and did the school committee poll the selectmen to see if they're willing to give us another override when you could have bonded this with free cash instead of having an override and increasing our taxes? That's the question to you, Jim.
That's me. I don't know who you're directing that question to.
The school department, I would imagine.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Sean Costello, Chair of the School Committee. I think it did say on the beginning slide there that the Select Board voted unanimously in approval of this article, and I think that there are 3 intelligent individuals on our Select Board who understand when they're reading something like that they're voting on what would be an override.
But they haven't taken an actual vote on
They
an
voted
override.
unanimously to approve this article.
That's not a vote on an
Debt
override.
exclusion, excuse me, right. The debt exclusion, right.
The
It's a debt
conversation goes
exclusion,
through me.
Sorry, Jim, again.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
So the facts are, the Board of Selectmen has not voted to put an override on the ballot. The last override failed, and we didn't even campaign against it. So I just think that you could bond this with free cash.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Keith.
Pam Keith, Smoke Hill Ridge. I want to pick up where you left off. I was thinking of offering an amendment. I mentioned it at the advisory board meeting, and I think it was only maybe Mr. Moran who answered. So I'd like to offer it here, and that way, Mr. Galvin or yourself, we can discuss whether I can, if it's valid. But I need the motion language up.
Can we put the motion language up?
It's probably slightly different than what's in here, but I was thinking towards the bottom where it says appropriation hereunder shall be subject to and contingent upon an affirmative vote. I was hoping to offer shall be from available funds or be contingent upon an affirmative vote. So it would be 5 words, from available funds or be. I don't know if that's valid to put 2 funding sources. I was thinking that I don't see why not. Just in case, because we talked about if the override was to fail, which I don't believe it will, but I believe the selectmen are being asked to put the other override also back on, so who knows. If it was to fail, we would actually have to come back. This vote on the roof will not be valid. We would have to come back to vote again because there is no funding source.
Can you, because he's the lawyer, I'm the cabinet maker, where you want to make that adjustment?
It's at the bottom where it says subject to and contingent upon an affirmative vote. Instead of subject, again, I'm trying to read if it's the same language here. Hereunder shall be subject. Said hereunder shall be from available funds or be subject to. Contingent upon an affirmative vote. So available funds if it was to fail. So it's an or. It's from available funds or be. Shall, well, there was a B in front, I think. Shall be from available funds. Get rid of that second B. Be before the word from. Shall be from available funds. Or shall be. No.
Yeah, he's reading.
Have to go back to, yeah, the red word from. Go back to be before it. Yeah. Actually, the second BO probably should be in red now.
Transfer?
Or it doesn't
Do you do it
matter.
up here? Do you do it, do you do it here and say,
No, well, it was changed, and then that's what they have for approval. I don't think we can go ahead and change it.
set amount?
Should be authorized.
Shall be from available funds or shall be subject.
Transfer from available funds or borrow.
To transfer from or,
And there we go.
or borrow, or borrow.
Authorized
Then none of this comes
to
out.
authorized, this will be authorized to transfer
To transfer.
from available funds or to.
Yeah, I think that's what it has to be.
So I think that the, language is a little different. You can strike what's in red there right now. And if you go up about halfway in, it says, like right in the middle of the page, it says, Town Treasure Collector, comma, with the approval of the Marshfield Select Board, be authorized, and at the end of be authorized, put in to transfer from available funds or. So write out that line. No, just what we just put in there. Yep, that's it. So I believe that does what you want to do? Yes, no?
I don't know about that. Seems like when you transfer from available funds, you do it once. I don't know, on an ongoing basis. The dollar amount seems low enough that it was in the ballpark of, a yearly amount to the town of, 250,000 or so? It's low enough that it could be funded in the annual budget.
But you still have to appropriate the entire amount. You can't say we're going to put $250 a year aside for the next 20 years to do this. You have to appropriate the whole.
No, it would just be appropriated every year, but
if you're going to do a project, though, you have to pay for the whole project up front. You can't say we're going to pay for this over time. It's not a layaway program to get a school roof. You'd have to go and appropriate the entire amount.
but
This would allow you to take it.
You would borrow anyways. You borrow whether you're funding it in your annual Proposition 2.5 increases and existing free
But
cash.
that's how you pay off your borrowing then. You're not doing, I'm out of school here a little bit, but I've done this enough that if you're saying you want to put, if you borrow it, you're going to pay for it for 20 years, and you're going to pay whatever it is, or you can do a debt exclusion and you're taking that outside of the budget. That's,
You're borrowing in both cases. It's a matter of.
so I don't know if it makes
It's a
sense to do
matter of-
this. I'm trying to enable your amendment, and I don't know if this does it the way you want to do it.
Personally, I don't think it does. So,
Well-
forget it then. How's that?
Okay.
Forget it.
we can just
Forget
get-
it.
We're not amending the article. Okay, so we can get rid of that language. Stephen.
Hi, Steve Lakatos, 184 Elm Street. I just want to make sure, I moved here about 15 years ago, and just after I moved here, we had that extreme storm that gave us 6 feet of snow, and the brand-new roof on the high school leaked. We had snow removal problems, all that kind of stuff. I want to make sure that the structural engineering has been double-checked for the kind of snow load that we got at that time, which was a 1 in 50-year storm. Well, if we want this thing to last 30 or 40 years like the last roof, we should double-check that it can handle that. I also want to make sure that the insurance has been checked, that we actually do have some kind of coverage in the future, because I don't know what happened, but it seemed to disappear, or something went wrong with that situation. And I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. The only other thing would be, I hope that, like it was mentioned previously, we do have a lot of elementary schools. I hope that at some point we hear some report about what the plan is, because we are taking care of multiple buildings, and that cost seems to be rising all the time to keep these buildings going. Is it time to rebuild one large elementary school? At least look at the calculations, come back to us at some point, and then we can justify these kind of expenses. Thank you.
Okay.
Kendra Stetson, Flagler Drive. I'm also a member of the Marshfield School Committee. I'm standing here more so as a parent. I have two daughters that are a freshman and a sixth grader. Both girls went through Martinson Elementary School, and I wanted to address a couple of points that a speaker brought up, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 people prior to me. One of the points was the different roof materials that I think our roof architect had answered. But this gentleman also said that the holes can be patched or repaired. And I will tell you, there's probably Martinson parents somewhere else in here, but if you speak to a Martinson teacher, staff member, parent, this roof needs to be repaired, period. There's no more, replaced, sorry. No repairing, it needs to be replaced urgently. That is all, thank you.
I have a
Diane.
point of order.
Please. Diane?
Diane Jordan, Bancroft Street. So I just wanted to bring people's attention to the advisory board and the capital budget committee meetings that are available to watch on the Marshfield government YouTube channel or to view the videos of. And pretty much everything that I've heard discussed and asked was discussed and asked at those meetings. So I'm not complaining at all because I really appreciate everybody's involvement and interest, and I love hearing people talk. But it is a confusing issue, like, the other very confusing issues we've had. So those videos are a resource to just kind of be clear on all of these details. So just a suggestion. That's all I have. Just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I have a point of order. I gave up too easily, possibly. You inserted language out of nowhere, didn't explain where you were suddenly getting it from. Bob Galvin had talked to you, Mr. Attorney Galvin. I don't know if he suggested that or what went on there.
Bob was trying to solve a defect in your language and putting it in the right spot.
Well, I'm just saying, he didn't explain that, and I see the entire sentence that I was trying to alter states, provided that any appropriation here under. So I don't see why that it could not be the way it was.
Yeah, you can explain.
We were trying to come up with a complete amendment that was consistent with what you were looking to do. So, and then it got withdrawn. But after I talked to you, I went over and I spoke to Mr. Miller and Mr. Sullivan, and they indicated to me that this article has been vetted by bond counsel who wrote the motion, and any change in that will jeopardize the ability to proceed with this project. So the recommendation is that this be voted up or down.
Okay, thank you.
Katie Gensheimer, Tupelo Road. Do the skylights need to be on that building, or can we take them out altogether, and how cost effective would that be?
They're scheduled to come off.
Okay, so the new one won't have them? Okay. And again, the pooling of water around that didn't result in any mold? Like, that seems crazy.
No, thankfully, the custodial staff does an excellent job. We make it drying up the leaks. That's the key. So after 72 hours of something being wet, that's when mold starts to migrate, starts multiplying. So
Okay.
they get on it right away.
And then my last question is, what exactly is the building code around the solar panels? Because we've been here numerous times, and I never heard that the solar panel building code was a part of all of this.
We get the code guy stepping up.
Here comes the code guy.
Andrew Stewart, Building Commissioner. We have now adopted the 10th edition of the building code. It came into full effect July of this year. And part of the provisions of that code amended by Massachusetts is that all roofs contain a solar-ready portion, so all residential roofs have to do it, as well as commercial roofs. It's part of the energy efficiency stuff, the stretch energy code, and whenever you do a certain amount of alteration or replacement, it triggers that code to make it solar-ready.
And when, you said we approved, who is we? And
The code?
Yeah.
So the state of Massachusetts adopts the building code for Massachusetts, like the legislature does that.
Okay, and when was that exactly? Was that around
So it started
Mr. Maresco's tenure?
The 10th, I'm sorry, Mr. Moderator, the 10th edition of the state building code came into being on January 1st of this year, and there was a concurrency period where you could use either the 9th edition or the 10th edition, and that expired on July 1st of this year. So now we're solely into the 10th edition of the Massachusetts State Building Code, which takes the 2021 International Building Code and amends it specifically to Massachusetts.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Pardon me? You up to the microphone? Yes, I will. You got to go to a microphone.
How's it going, Eric?
Jacqueline Little, 343 Prairie Street. I think there's been plenty of discussion, a lot of experts talking already, and I think it's time to move the question. Please.
Okay, I'll accept that as a motion. All in favor of moving the question, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, we're going to a vote.
Mr. Moderator, I want to make a correction. Earlier, before this meeting, the
We're
select board
going-
had a meeting.
Okay.
And we re-voted on this because of the new information. So we voted 2-1 against this article.
Okay. That's a point of order in the future if you want to do something like that, but that's worth bringing up.
Mr. Moderator, I take back my nice compliment earlier to this.
All right, we're voting on Article 7. It's a two-thirds vote. All those in favor of Article 7, please raise your hand. All those opposed, I declare that passes by two-thirds.
Point of order, Jim.
Yep.
So if the Board of Selectmen voted against this article, that means they voted against an override. That means this article was mute, so why would you even take a vote on it?
Because the town meeting votes on the articles, not the Board of Selectmen. If they
There's
get
not
you
going to
to
be an override.
town
So
meeting,
it can't go to the ballot unless the Selectmen put it on the ballot.
if the Board of Selectmen wants to go against town meeting, and again, they could, but this is a vote at town meeting. It's not a vote based on what does the Board of Selectmen.
They already voted before the meeting, 2-1, that they weren't going to put this on the
It
ballot.
doesn't matter. It's still before town meeting. It doesn't negate the vote. Okay, everybody, it's 10:40. We do not take new business after 10:30, and sometimes we'll make an exception, but since we have about half the warrant left over to go, we'll see you all tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.